The Untouchable True School Sports Empire proudly presents something the boxing games are missing. Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT, and I came here to talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. Now, guys, we've been on a long, very fun, very rewarding journey, but now we can finally say it. You know, today is the day. Today is the day the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. It is Brian Norman Jr. versus Jin Sasaki. For everybody back in the States, because you guys may be asking me about what time the fight's going to start. You know, what time is the fight going to start? I thought it was tomorrow. Guess what? I'm in Japan right now, so it is tomorrow. It is June 19th. It is fight day here in Japan. It's not fight day in America yet, but, you know, it ain't that far behind. You know, the fights in America, for those wondering, the fights in America are supposed to happen. The top-ranked card starts at 4 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and the main event is expected to be at 7:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So that would be what, 6:15 Central and 4:15 a.m. Pacific Time. So those are your times in America. We're ahead here in Japan. It is fight day, you know. And before I get to the comments, before I get to my breakdown, because I have a lot to say. I have more to say about this fight than most fights in the history of this channel that we've covered. But let me just say that on this channel, this fight is very special because, you know, this is a fight that I've been talking about since September. I mean, I literally had a Jin Sasaki Brian Norman video in September before Brian Norman even fought Cuevas, before Top Rank probably even thought to make the damn fight. We were talking about Brian Norman Jr. versus Jin Sasaki. So once again, it's been proven year after year, video after video, month after month, day after day, that when it comes to this boxing content, when it comes to this boxing coverage on True School Sports, we're always way ahead of everybody else. We always stay on the cutting edge and ahead of everybody else here on True School Sports. That's why, you know, you guys like the channel. That's why, you know, people like Angelo Leo are able to stay ahead of these featherweights in the featherweight division. You got a very smart guy like me on the team. It's just the proof's in the pudding. So it's been a long, fun journey in the build-up to this fight, and I know a lot of people in America are bitching and moaning about Brian Norman not fighting John Ennis. I ain't one of them. I don't really care. Like right now, to me, this is the most exciting stylistic matchup in the entire division. Is it the most significant fight? Probably not, but it's the most entertaining fight from a stylistic standpoint in the division. And for that is enough reason for me to get excited. And then when you consider all the storylines, you know, Norman trying to become a bigger star in the sport and solidify himself in the sport as a champion, you know, coming to Japan to defend the belt, you know, that's interesting. Jin Sasaki standing on the shoulders of history, trying to become the first Japanese world champion in boxing history. I mean, that right there by itself is exciting enough. And then the fact that, you know, just the cherry on top to all this, is that both Brian Norman Jr. and Jin Sasaki are two of the hardest punchers in boxing you'll find in any weight class, pound for pound. So if you're not talking about this fight right now, to me, you're not talking about nothing. It's that kind of a fight. I know a lot of people in the States don't know Jin Sasaki, and you may look at his record and say, well, he hasn't fought nobody. You know, Brian's going to do this. And Brian Norman might run right through him. But, you know, I went back, I reviewed the tape. Now, it wouldn't shock me if Sasaki wound up knocking out Brian Norman Jr. It's that kind of fight where anybody can get put out at any moment. So I have a lot to say, and I'm gonna say it. So you know, you guys definitely stay tuned. Make sure you smash that like button. I see we got 32 people here already, so make sure you guys smash that like button. Give me your thoughts. Give me your predictions. Give me all that, because there's so much to go ahead and talk about. You know, there really is. Let me go ahead and take some time to acknowledge the fine folks that have already made their presence felt here on True School Sports. We got Unreformed. I already answered that question. The fight is it's already the 19th in Japan. You guys, it's still the 18th in America, but it's fight day here in Japan. TSM says Jin is going to stop him. Very big possibility. You know, I think it's a possibility either way. You got Sebastian Santana. And by the way, much respect to Sebastian Santana. Make sure you guys show your appreciation for Sebastian Santana. He's been a long-time viewer of this channel. I've been seeing Sebastian Santana since he first put on boxing gloves. What was it, like 2017, 2018? He just had his pro debut the other day in Mexico on DAZN. and won a very tough majority decision. So shout out to him on a good start to his pro career. Afro Jam says BT the matchmaker. Yes, for sure, definitely. Could you make a video on the best potential matchups by the end of 2025 and 2026? That's a good idea. Let me make a note of that. That's actually a fun video to make. I'll do a video on that. True. Based on the pad work, how fast and strong does he really look? I seen Jin and it wasn't as impressive as Brian's. I would say Jin or Brian has the heavier hands. He's got, because there's different types of power in boxing. You have heavy-handed power, and then you have like kind of like explosive, snappy power. I feel like Jin has explosive, snappy power. Brian is snappy too, but I think he leans more towards being the heavy-handed kind of power. So look, I think they're both punching like that. I don't want to sit here and say one guy's punching harder than the other. I think they're both really punching like that. Guys, there's a reason why I'm talking up this fight. It's not because like you got this guy right here. He says hook like Belonga, so he says that I dick ride Japanese fighters too much, so he's gonna have to unsubscribe. Listen, go ahead and unsubscribe. Join the other 21,000 people that have 21 or 22,000 people that have unsubscribed from this channel. It makes no difference. You'll be replaced within a minute or two. The number always goes up every day, so it is what it is. If that's what you got to do because you feel that I dick ride Japanese fighters too much, then you do what's best for you, and I'm gonna do what's best for me. Now, do I dick ride Japanese fighters too much? No. There's plenty of Japanese fighters that I tell you guys aren't what they say they are. But I can't ignore what's going on right now. I mean, right now in Japan, you got you got 3 guys from Japan on the pound list. They're doing their thing. So what? Am I supposed to act like they're not in a golden age right now? That they're not out here kicking ass, taking names? Like, they're doing their thing. So you give credit where credit is due. You calling me a dick rider? You got Edgar Berlanga in your fucking profile picture. So you stop projecting. Just stop the projecting. But anyway, God bless. Listen. Let's get into it, man. Let's get into it. I don't want to go back and forth with negative comments, and I have a lot to get through. This might be a 3-hour live. Like, I have that much to say about this fight because I think it's that kind of a fight, and I think I have a lot of respect for both these guys. You got to understand something, guys. Before I get into the first talking point, you got to understand something. We just came out of a welterweight era. You're talking about this whole era of Spence, Crawford, Danny Garcia, Keith Thurman, Sean Porter, Kell Brook. That whole era. There was a lot of ducking and dodging and marinating fights. So I'm sorry for getting excited, but when I see 2 young fighters, 2 young, explosive fighters who could pick easier fights, who could go a different route and build their names up more. When I see 2 young fighters, Brian Norman, the youngest world champion in boxing at 24 years old, and Jin Sasaki, 23 years old, could also potentially be the youngest world champion in boxing if he wins the fight. When I see 2 young fighters stepping up to the plate, not wasting time, making a dangerous fight happen against each other, of course I'm gonna get excited. Of course I'm gonna respect that, and of course I'm gonna talk it up. So that's a big reason why I'm talking this fight up. Stylistically, it's a good fight, and I have a lot of respect for fighters that step up to the plate and they make the fights right away. They're not out here maneuvering, they're out here ducking and dodging, they're out here making it like real fights. So I respect that. But look, I wanted to talk about how did we get here? How did we get here? Let me paint this picture because a lot of people that I've heard talk about this fight, they don't know enough about Norman and they don't know enough about Sasaki. I know enough about both guys to accurately paint the picture of how we got here, who is Brian Norman Jr. and who is Jin Sasaki. So how did we get here? And who are these guys? Now, when I look at Brian Norman Jr., when I look at Jin Sasaki, I look at them both as underdogs, guys that were underdogs that have risen to the top of boxing. And you may say, BT, how are these guys underdogs? Okay, well, we'll start with Brian Norman Jr. Brian Norman Jr., he's coming to you guys live and direct from Atlanta, Georgia. He's from Atlanta, Georgia. Now, Atlanta, Georgia is not a boxing hotbed. It is not somewhere with a lot of boxing infrastructure. In fact, I would even go as far as to say there is practically no boxing infrastructure in Atlanta, Georgia. That's why a lot of the top pros from Atlanta, and I know for some reason I've crossed paths with a lot of them over the years, but like guys like Quantavious Cash, guys like Najee Lopez, a lot of these guys from Atlanta don't wind up staying in Atlanta because there's not a lot of boxing infrastructure there, so far as, you know, top sparring, so far as, you know, club show boxing or top club show boxing. So, you know, Norman wasn't getting a bunch of money pumped into his career, and that's reflected. I mean, if you go, and we'll go to screen share real quickly. If you go and you look at Brian Norman's record early in his career, right, it's reflected because look, he's fighting in Mexico. He's fighting guys with 2-17, 7-68, 5-33, 3-7, 1-8 records, 4-9, 2-33. Like, there was a period of his career where he was fighting a lot of guys in Mexico with padded records, and a lot of a big reason why that is because, and boxing fans may not understand this, is that to build a fighter, it costs money, and a lot of these guys, if you're not a top amateur, if none of the big promoters are signing you out of the amateurs, or you don't get a manager who's bankrolling you money off rip, sometimes it's going to be difficult to build a fighter's career, right? So Norman, that was the case for him early, and that's why he fought guys with those records. But then eventually he caught the attention of Cameron Duncan, you know, sparring guys like Terrence Crawford. Obviously, it's been noted he sparred Jaron Ennis plenty. But Cameron Duncan eventually, at a certain point in the career, in his career, started managing him and guiding him, and that's what set the foundation for his career. And then Top Rank, you know, Top Rank got with him. Now Top Rank, he's a Top Rank fighter, Top Rank world champion. So that's the Brian Norman side of things. Now, Jin Sasaki, you guys may not, for everybody in the States, I know you guys aren't as familiar with Jin Sasaki. Let's talk about him for a second, because the same things I said about Brian Norman Jr. apply to Jin Sasaki. You know, Jin Sasaki was not a blue chip amateur. You know, all these guys from Japan that are champions right now, like Naoya Inoue, Junto Nakatani, Kenshiro, these were all fighters that in the very early stages of the career had, you know, good investment. They were highly touted. They were highly sought after. Jin Sasaki was not such. He was not a highly sought after fighter. He didn't even really start taking boxing seriously till he was in high school. That's the truth. So he was a bit of a late starter. He didn't have a decorated amateur career. He only had 4 amateur fights, and he turned pro at a very young age, at the age of 17. So yes, Jin Sasaki got to this level practically. He got to this level to fight for the world title off of punching power and athleticism and balls. That's why you can't write him off, because I know a lot of you don't want to hear it, but if you just go watch, don't take my word for it. Go watch Jin Sasaki's highlights. Go watch his fights. Go look at how he's punching these dudes. Go watch how many fights he's knocked somebody out with the left hook. Honestly, Jin Sasaki is one of the hardest punchers pound for pound in boxing right now in any weight class. I really believe that. I really truthfully believe that, and I believe Brian Norman Jr. is a great puncher in his own right, and that's what makes this fight so exciting. So he turned pro at 17 years old. He wasn't getting, and we'll go to his box right just so you guys can see. So look, Jin Sasaki 19-1-1 coming to you guys live and direct from Hachiochi, Tokyo, Japan. Look, so he turns pro in 2018, right? He even had a fight in Thailand. Most Japanese fighters don't go to Thailand if they're highly sought after. If you're a Japanese fighter having to go to Thailand, it means there's not a lot of investment behind you. He fought, I think, his 5th or 6th pro fight in Thailand. And yeah, then he fought, you know, Shinjuku Face. So it wasn't until really like 2020, 2021-ish where Jin was even being taken seriously at the domestic Japanese level. He's the guy that had to earn his spot. You know, a lot of these, there were a couple of these fights against guys like Keito Obara, Kaki Yuba. These were fights where Jin was actually expected to lose, and he won. So he's earned his, even though you guys don't want to believe it, he's earned his seat at the welterweight table because he's already won fights that he wasn't supposed to win, had no investment in his career. So I respect both these guys, and I'm looking at Brian Norman Jr. and Jin Sasaki as a celebration of 2 guys from America and Japan who I believe are really and truthfully real fighters that did not have a lot of investment in their careers, fighters who had to already overcome real odds and real circumstances to get to this place they're already at in their career. So that's how we got here, and I hope everybody gives their respects to both guys for taking such a dangerous fight, because look, I'll say it again, look how long it took to make Crawford Spence. Look at, you know, a lot of those fights from that era. You know, there was a lot of marinating going on, a lot of politics. And for me, like, maybe I'm a little weird. Maybe I'm not wired like a lot of boxing fans and YouTube channels, but like I can actually do without the drama. I can actually do without the drama, and I love it when young fighters step up to the plate at an early stage of their career and they make dangerous fights happen. You know, I understand the business side of boxing. I understand, like, you know, you gotta have the business right and the money has to be right. I get all that, but you know, there's a fine line between the business and then over marinating a fight. And I feel like, you know, they both shown that they are willing to take a dangerous fight. So I respect them both for that, and I'm behind both of them. I'm really happy about this fight and everything. Anyway, guys, we got a super chat. I had to get to my first talking point. We got our first super chat. Shout out to my boy Matt Borgeson with the first super chat out of live. Thank you, Matt, for your contributions as normal. He says, honestly, if Norman loses tonight, I have zero interest to see Boots stay at welterweight. If he does win, I want to see Boots. I want to see the Boots fight. Jin isn't a name. Well, no, Jin ain't a name yet. But shit, I was gonna wait to talk about that till later on because I got like a chronological order of points. But I'll talk about it a little bit now since you brought it up and you super chatted. Jin is, if Jin beats Norman, Jin is a name. Like, Jin is a name because now you're the guy to beat Brian Norman Jr. You're the first Japanese welterweight champion in box history. In fact, I'm gonna say this: if Jin Sasaki wins this fight against Brian Norman Jr., unless Boots is willing to dust off his passport and come to Japan, yeah, he better go with 54 because at that point, Ohashi, Mr. Honda, the real power brokers of Japanese boxing are gonna now be in a power position to offer ungodly amounts of money, and Jin Sasaki will be a star. He will, if Jin Sasaki beats Brian Norman Jr., he will become the star of this weight class. And I know people don't want to hear that. They may say I'm being like the dick riding Japanese fighters. I'm telling you guys the truth. I know how shit works. Like, Mr. Honda is probably one of the top 5 most powerful people in boxing. Far more powerful than Eddie Hearn could ever dream of being, right? I'm telling you right now, if Jin Sasaki wins this fight, all those guys, Hondo, Ohashi, you know, all them, they're gonna start making dudes come to Japan. And like all the complaints that you guys hear about Inoue at featherweight or at 122, they're gonna make its way to the welterweight division because they're gonna have a guy that is, you know, the name of the division, like the money man of the division. And then you know, so like, if you know, Barrios, Boots, these guys, if Jin gets his, I'm telling you guys, if Jin gets his hand, if he hits Brian Norman with the wrong punch and he gets his hand on the title, it's gonna change the division in ways that you can't even fathom. So I would still like Boots to stay at 147. And I'll get to that later in the live because I have a lot to say about that. But yeah, I want to get to that. Let me go ahead to a couple more comments because I see we did get like 24 comments. We got let me see. Japanese fighters are the best in the world right now. It's very debatable. I'm not even mad at that. Like, it's very, very debatable. A lot of Japanese fighters are doing their things across all weight classes. BT, what are the odds of both fighters getting dropped in your opinion? Very high. I would say very, very high. You know, it's funny, right? Because a lot of people will sit here, and I've heard a lot of people say that it's Jin Sasaki that doesn't have great defense, right? Which is true. Like, I don't think people should ever confuse Jin Sasaki for being a great defensive fighter because he's not. That's why he's been knocked out. That's why he's been dropped multiple times. But for people to sit here, and I like Brian Norman Jr., but for people to sit here and act like Brian Norman Jr. is a great defensive fighter, I think is also intellectually dishonest. Brian Norman Jr. is improving, but he is not a great defensive fighter. You know, we've seen what happened with Janelson Figueroa. He overextended and paid for it, got dropped in that fight. Even in the first round of the Derek Cuevas fight, like, he got caught twice in the first round with the left hook. Once via a counter punch, the other time via Cuevas leading the exchange. Cuevas threw a left hook to the body, and then Cuevas finished up top to the head, right? And then eventually, you know, credit to Norman. Norman made an adjustment, and you know, he got Cuevas out of there. But like Derek Cuevas, like, I know Derek Cuevas as a fighter. Like, he used to fight in South Florida all the time. He headlined a couple of shows. Me and my dad did post-fight review videos, and we were not satisfied with what we saw back in 2018, 2019 from Derek Cuevas. Derek Cuevas is not that good. Like, Derek Cuevas can punch. He has a good amateur background, but he's not. He's a front runner, and he's always been a front runner. And, you know, the first sign of adversity, he showed it in the Brian Norman fight. Jin may get knocked out. Jin may get destroyed. But one thing about Jin that I don't got to worry about is him quitting on the stool or anything. I've said it many times before. I will say it again. If Brian Norman Jr. wants to beat Jin Sasaki, he better be prepared to beat him to a bloody pulp. Because I think in order to get Jin out of there, you're going to have to do that. You're going to have to make the Japanese commission have to carry him outside the ring, because that's just how Japanese fighters are. And with such high stakes on the line, I got to anticipate that Jin Sasaki will be willing to die in this fight. And I'm not, guys, I'm not exaggerating. I'm not just talking. I'm not like dick. I'm telling you the temperament of Jin Sasaki and these kind of fighters. So we'll see. T-Mac 149 says Brian Norman Jr. will always be the underdog since the Boots debacle. These dudes in Philly act like he personally assaulted them or something. Yeah, I have a lot to say about that. I mean, personally, if there was ever a fighter from America that I wish people would get behind, Brian Norman Jr. is one of those guys. I mean, he's very likable, fun fighter to watch, fan friendly. A lot of things I could say about Brian Norman Jr. And it's funny too because people act like Jaron Ennis is this guy that just takes all these hard fights. That Jaron, like Jaron Ennis didn't turn down Virgil Ortiz or that they didn't tell like they didn't use BLK Prime or they didn't use Showtime as an excuse to not fight Crawford on BLK Prime. Like, as much as I want to sit here and as much as and I've done it in the past, as much as it's easier for people to criticize Brian Norman Jr. for turning down the fight, people act like Jaron Ennis hasn't turned down big fights. Like, you guys doing all this capping for Jaron Ennis, who's turned down big fights. So I don't get it. So we'll get to that later on the live. But yeah, it's like it's been insane. Afro Jam says that OTX and BLK Prime are trying to support the Georgia scene, but Florida and Texas dominate the Southern boxing scene. That this is true. This is true. But there is talent in Georgia. There are talented fighters in Georgia. I've met quite a few of them over the years. Yep. Hey BT, congrats on your latest title with the Panthers. My favorite boxer Malinaji is back. What are your thoughts? First, yes. Thank you for mentioning that. Yes, congratulations is in order to the hometown team. The Florida Panthers won the Stanley Cup last night. Back-to-back champions, the best team in American sports. Better than the Dodgers, better than the Eagles, better than whoever wins the finals. Just the best. So shout out to them. South Florida, stand up. As far as Malinaji, what do you mean Malinaji's back? Like, he's fighting? And my man right here, he said, "You're up so early, man." I'm extremely excited. I'm telling you guys, I come here so many weeks, and I see fights where I'm not that excited for, and I still come here. I do my job. I be professional. I talk about it for you guys. But man, when we get a fight that I'm really like up for, what I'm really excited about, oh man, it's a different type of feeling. And this is one of them fights. This is one of them rare fights where it's like I'm 150% invested. Yeah, no, Jin is one of the top guys. I agree. But look, we got I see a lot of comments. I got a lot of talking points. So if you want to get your comments read, you're gonna have to super chat. There's a lot of comments. I can't get to all of them, and I have a lot of things to get through. So if you want to get your comment read, super chat. But listen. Next talking point. So the welterweight division is trash. The main sentiments I keep hearing from everybody is that the welterweight division is trash, and I don't blame them because I mean let's look at it. Let's go on screen and look at it. Let's actually dissect the welterweight division. So this is the welterweight division right now on this fine day of June 19th, 3:44 a.m. here in Japan. This is how it looks right now. Right now you got Jaron Ennis, who is the WBA and IBF champion. Now, we've been told by Eddie Hearn that Jaron Ennis is going to move up because he can't make the weight, and he's compromising himself to make the weight. Which, if that's true, then fair enough, because Jaron Ennis is a huge fighter for the weight class, and Jaron Ennis is a guy that only he knows his body. So if that's the case, then fine. But I don't believe Eddie Hearn. I don't believe Eddie Hearn because of the timing of it. And I remember Jaron Ennis said in an interview one time that if you hear news about him and it doesn't come directly from him, to not believe anything you hear. So I'm going to take Jaron Ennis at his word, and I'm going to choose to not believe Eddie Hearn. So in my mind, Jaron Ennis is still in the weight class. So he's regarded by many as the best welterweight in the world at this moment in time. Your WBC champion is Mario Barrios. He's looked at to be the weak link of the division. He's fighting Manny Pacquiao. Pacquiao could become a welterweight champion at 46 years old, right? So you have that. And then you have Brian Norman Jr., who's fighting later on today here in Japan against Jin Sasaki. So that is your welterweight division. Not a whole lot of depth. You got guys moving up from 140 like Devin Haney, who's ranked. These kind of guys, Ryan Garcia as well, Rolly as well. So it's not a great weight class on paper, but I feel like a lot of you guys are being impatient and pessimistic. The division is in a state of transition. You got to understand. Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence held the division up for years, and then they fought. They've aged. They've grown old. They moved up in weight. They're not here no more. That whole era is done now. So now we're in that stage where you have a lot of guys who are unproven, good fighters, talented fighters, but unproven. And now they got to prove themselves. So I feel like today, really and truthfully, guys, I feel like today is the first genuine fight of the new era of this new welterweight division. Brian Norman Jr. versus Jin Sasaki is the starting point of a new era in the welterweight division. And based on these fights, we're going to see who's who. Ennis and Stanianis too Ennis and Stanianis was the first fight of the new era of the welterweight division. But Ennis, or according to Eddie Hearn, Ennis doesn't want to be part of this new era. So it is what it is. So is it terrible? Maybe. Or maybe a lot of you guys are just impatient and you're pessimistic and you're negative. Maybe why don't we let some of these guys emerge? Because as boxing has shown us many times before, there's always fighters that don't get any attention paid to them that rise above and eventually become stars. And I already see a couple of guys that I think could be big names that have exciting styles. Like I'll highlight one of them for you guys right here. This guy right here. How about Ricardo Salas, the Mexican welterweight who knocked out Romain Villa? Romain Villa is this guy that Boots fans said was his killer, and Ricardo Salas beat him better than Boots did. He's ranked number 5. He might get a title shot. You got him. You got Nicholas Flaus, the Puerto Rican welterweight, big time puncher. Are these guys otherworldly pound for pound talents? No. But can they be exciting? Can guys emerge? Can guys still make the division exciting? Yes. And then you still got Brian Norman. You still got Jin Sasaki. You still got Giashov, who's still waiting for his shot, who's a good fighter in his own right. You still got Stanianis, who's in the division. You got Ryan Garcia. You got Haney. So maybe I'm just not negative. Maybe I'm just more patient than most people. But I'm gonna let things play out because boxing has shown me that guys will always emerge. So yeah, that's kind of my take on the welterweight division. That's why I stand at this moment in time, at this juncture in time with the welterweight division. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? Let me see. We got another super chat. Shout out to Jairo Galvez. He says Spence never officially moved up. It's not over. Jairo, it's over. He moved up. When Sebastian Fundora beat Tim Tszyu in the first fight, he went in the ring and he called out Sebastian Fundora. So if he's calling out Sebastian Fundora, it means he's a 154 pounder. He's not going to go to 47. And you and I both know that Spence, due to how he used to live his life in the club, drinking a lot, he could barely make the weight, probably even going into the Crawford fight. So no, it's been over for a while and it's over. Unfortunately, for your sake, it is over. Spence hasn't fought in 700 days. It's been forever and a day. He says, man, get off my guy, Boots. The man said he wanted to fight the belt 147 first before winning the 154. So what up? Bud said he only fighting Earl. Well, that's my point. Like, I want to wait till the end of the live because I don't want to go off on it. I have talking points. I'm gonna get to that eventually. Just stay tuned. I'm gonna get to Boots eventually. You are already in this era. The best prospect is, you know what? Rohan Polanco is probably the best guy. Like, apart from the guys I named, Rohan Polanco, that's another one. Rohan Polanco could beat both these dudes. Rohan Polanco was legitimately a good enough fighter to beat Jin and Norman. Like, and he's not getting talked about enough. I haven't even made that many videos about him yet because he hasn't been in no big time fights. But Rohan Polanco, that's another one. That's another guy that really and truthfully is a danger to anybody in the welterweight division. Rohan Polanco, I think could beat Barrios, but I think a lot of guys could probably beat Barrios. Barrios is really and truthfully, he's not that good for a champion, but he's a champion, so I respect him. Stop hating on Rocha. I like Rocha. I think another one, Rocha, again, another all action fighter, a guy that comes to fight, takes on, good competition. Not an all-world, otherworldly pound-for-pound talent, but again, definitely a solid fighter in the division. So, it's not, the division doesn't have pound-for-pound talents right now. Nobody's really proven to be that, and nobody looks like that right now. But there's plenty of exciting fighters that can make for an exciting matchup, and sometimes that's all you need. How many times we see these quote-unquote pound-for-pound guys being a stinker, Shout out to my man Talker. He says, I got a feeling Norman is going to get Sasaki out of there in the first 3 or 4 rounds tomorrow. Enjoy the fights, man. Hey, it's very possible. I can see it happening. I can see that outcome playing itself out in either scenario. I can see I can see Sasaki getting Norman out of there in 3 or 4 rounds, or inside 6, and I can see it the same way. It's just one of them type of fights, because both these dudes is really punching like that. So, yeah. All right, so I want to get into the X's and O's a little bit. I want to get into the strengths and weaknesses. I'm gonna give you guys the strengths and weaknesses of both fighters, what they do well, what they don't do so well, what to look out for, just all those things. So we will start with the champion, Atlanta's very own, Brian Norman Jr. The South got something to say about boxing. Let's talk about him, because I think when you talk about Brian Norman Jr., you're talking about a very fun and a very destructive blend of power, physical strength, athleticism, and even a little bit of speed. Got some speed with him too. A lot of positive things you could say about Brian Norman Jr. as a welterweight. So when you look at his career, a lot of the fights that people will use to discredit him, like Janelson Figueroa, Quentin Randall, these fights where he looked vulnerable or just didn't look that good. In these fights, I feel like Norman has gained valuable experience. I think if you just go and you look at his frame, his body, he's matured. Brian Norman Jr. has matured, physically speaking. Like, he's gained a lot more of his man strength over the last few fights. And when you look at just things that he's done in his last few fights, adjustments he's made, tweaks he's made to his style, it's very easy to look at him and say that his best boxing is in front of him. He's very much getting better and improving as a fighter. I mentioned earlier the Cuevas fight. So in the Cuevas fight, in his last fight against Derek Cuevas is a big puncher, right? And Cuevas found a home early in the first round multiple times for the left hook in different scenarios. In the first minute, Cuevas landed a counter left hook in between a jab of Norman that grazed him on the chin. It wasn't like a flush counter, but it landed, like it scored, right? And then about maybe like 30 seconds to a minute later, Cuevas led the exchange with a left hook to the body, and then he followed up to the head, and he actually buckled Brian Norman Jr. a little bit. And, I thought Norman in that fight showed a lot of composure and actually showed his maturation as a fighter, because he made an adjustment. Cuevas wasn't able to find that same shot in the second round, and in the rest of the rounds of the fight, because what Norman showed in that fight, and one of the things that's impressed me watching Norman in the gym, because I've had the honor to see Norman train on multiple occasions at Ohashi Boxing Gym. Brian Norman Jr. is a lot lighter on his feet than it looks like when you watch him on tape. He moves very, very well. And it showed in that Cuevas fight, because he used his boxing skills and he used Cuevas' aggression against him. And then he found a way to counterpunch. One of the punches that he landed was the lead left hook that kept Cuevas at bay and had him thinking twice about coming through the front door. But also a combination that was very successful for him in that fight that I feel could also be very successful for him in this Jin Sasaki fight is the 2-1, the straight right hand jab combination, the inverted 1-2. It's a combination that not a lot of fighters throw, but the ones that throw it and throw it well are very dangerous, because when you're fighting a lot of fighters, the most basic combination in boxing is the 1-2, the jab and then the straight. But when you get a fighter that knows how to throw that same combination, but you just reverse the punches, the straight, then the jab, it keeps the opponents at bay. It keeps them off balance, guessing. And it makes the fighter who's throwing it a lot harder to time. And so Norman did that against Cuevas. And Norman had a lot of success against Cuevas because of that. And I feel like against Jin, when you look at Jin as a fighter, Jin, defensively speaking, he either, when he does defend Jin, it's normally out of the high guard. So if Norman throws that 2-1, it can hit and it can hurt Jin Sasaki. Uppercuts and the 2-1. Those are punches that I think are going to be there for Brian Norman Jr. Because Brian Norman Jr. throws a very good left uppercut and a right uppercut, as well as the 2-1, the straight and then the jab combination. So those are key punches, key combinations that I think will be there for Norman. Now, those are strengths. I listened to you guys, all his strengths. I think his boxing IQ is improving. I think his ability to be light on his feet, to box, those things are all pluses for Brian Norman Jr. Now, what are his weaknesses? Brian Norman Jr.'s biggest weakness to me when I watch him fight, because I went back and I watched a lot of his fights, watched like prospect fights, even before he was on Top Rank, whatever I could find, like all kinds of stuff. Brian Norman Jr.'s biggest weakness to me is that I think that he leaves his head on the center line way too much. And the thing is, like, he's got good fundamentals. Like, the jab comes from a good position. He doesn't like drop his hands extremely low, but he's shown many times that he does have these defensive lapses where his head stays on the line. And a fighter that's a good counter puncher, a fighter that has durability. So, like, I don't think just being a counter puncher or having power will beat Brian Norman Jr. You can't just be a counter puncher and you can't just have a power to beat Brian Norman Jr. To beat Brian Norman Jr., you have to have counter punching, you have to have timing, you have to have power, but most importantly, you have to have some damn durability. Because I'm telling you right now, he's gonna dish it out. You need to have the balls and the stones to take it. And that to me, from the Jin side of things, is really the fight within the fight, because I believe Jin Sasaki can hurt Brian Norman Jr. I believe he can catch Brian Norman Jr. But can he dish out what Brian Norman Jr. is going to take? That's the big question for me. Because if Jin Sasaki can take what Brian Norman is just dishing out, the fight becomes a pick'em fight. At that point, it's a pick'em fight to me, because Jin does have the work rate to outwork Brian, and Jin does have the power to clip Brian and hurt him. So I think defensive responsibility and getting his head off the line when he jabs is going to be a very, very big key to this fight for Brian Norman Jr., because Jin has underrated timing and Jin can counter punch. And so not only being defensively responsible, but Brian Norman Jr. has to find a way to neutralize the left hook of Jin Sasaki, because that's the punch he's going to look for. He's going to look for it. You know he's going to look for it. I know Brian Norman Sr. is a very astute trainer. You know he's going to look for it, so you have to, by all means, find a way to neutralize that punch and just frustrate him. That's why I feel like I've talked to Brian Norman's dad. I've talked to both camps. From talking to both camps, because I've talked to Nakaya, Sasaki's trainer. I've talked to Senior. It sounds like both fighters are going to come out and attack and just be on the front foot. But I think it would be very beneficial for the Normans, at least for the first 2 rounds, to box Jin Sasaki, because Jin, I think, is the more undisciplined fighter. And I think Jin will overcommit. And I think Jin will give you counter-punching opportunities. And I think you can use his aggression against him early in the fight. That's what I think they should do in the early fight, is box. But Brian Norman Jr. believes in his power. And, we'll see. We'll see if what he does, But those are Brian Norman's strengths and Brian Norman's weaknesses from my vantage point. His biggest weakness to me is the fact that he has this habit of having lapses and keeping his head on the center line longer than he should. And truth be told, that's not something you want to do against a guy like Jin, because one thing about Jin Sasaki reminds me of like J.R. Smith in basketball. Like J.R. Smith, he was a bench player, but when he got on the court, he would let it fly. First time he touches the basketball, he's shooting a 3-pointer. He might get like 5 shots in 2 minutes up. Like, he was one of those kind of guys. And so with Jin, I know he's gonna go ahead and let his hands go. Like, a lot of times, guys, when we go into a fight and we wonder about, will this guy let his hands go? Jin Sasaki is not one of those fighters. So that's what it is there. But yeah, let me get some comments. We got T-Mac. He says Jin is noticeably weak to uppercuts, and I think exactly. And he fights in a high guard. He's going to be leaning over that front foot. So I feel that punch is going to be there for Brian Norman Jr. for sure. Yep. And Cuevas hit Norman right on his temple. Right on his temple. It was a left hook to the body and then a left hook to the head, which is, I've seen Jin throw that punch before, and land, you know. So it is something to look out for. You know what I'm saying? David Esther says, I honestly think Brian Norman Jr. is good enough to beat a few of the top guys at 154. That division is overrated, and I've talked about it before. I think he could. I think he could too. A couple guys up there I think he would do very well against. Brian Norman's weaknesses was the lunging hooks and no head movement after throwing shots. Exactly. It's more so like the defensive maneuvers after he throws. Attacking and as far as athleticism and moving around and things like that, he does a lot of things very, very well. Very well schooled fighter, but it's just more so what's happening as he's punching that where, you know, things get a bit tricky. So, yeah. I agree. Sasaki is coming to fight. Yeah. It's not even a question. Like there will be questions in this fight, but that's not one of them. And by the way, shout out to Steven Rodriguez, one of the fantastic amateur coaches in South Florida. You know, plumbing in the daytime, boxing at night. It's the work before the work. South Florida stand up. Shout out to the Florida Panthers, the back-to-back Stanley Cup champions. Good to see you, Steven. Hope all is well. Shout out to Andrew Lawson as well. Lethal Lawson. Crazy comparison, so accurate. Yes, Jin Sasaki is the J.R. Smith of the welterweight division. He's gonna let it fly regardless. You know, he can miss 15 left hooks. He's gonna let 5 more of them go. Like he's one of them kind of guys. So, you know, that's Jin. But speaking of Jin, because we're gonna segue to Jin, and guys, make sure you smash that like button. It is the untouchable True School Sports Empire. We're live. It is Brian Norman Jr. Jin Sasaki fight day here in Japan. A very, very important fight for the welterweight division, and you know, one of the fights that I believe is kicking off this new era of the welterweight division, post Crawford, post Spence. Yeah, smash the like button, subscribe, definitely super chat if you really mess with the content, and yeah, hope you guys have been enjoying all the content we've had here. This channel has been the home for Brian Norman Jr. in Jin Sasaki content, and I think my computer is about to die. Did my computer die? Oh no, it crashed. My computer crashed. Okay, anyway, just hit restore. So Jin Sasaki's strengths, Jin Sasaki's weaknesses, what exactly are they? Now, Jin Sasaki's biggest weakness, I would say, is first and foremost, before we even get into like his style or like, you know, what he does in the ring, that's his weakness. His biggest weakness is actually competition. I think strength of schedule and or lack thereof strength of schedule, that is Jin's biggest thing he has to overcome, because, you know, and let's be real, in Asia, in Japan, or anywhere in Asia is not known for its welterweights, so he hasn't been able to fight, you know, top contenders, like true top contenders. I mean, like look, we'll go to screen share, right? Like even his last fight, he fought a tough, durable Shoki Sakai who gave him some rounds, but Shoki Sakai is not, he's not no like elite top contender. So look, when you go and you look and you check under the hood, you know, you got guys like Kwame Obala, Joe Noine, Shoki Sakai. So these guys are durable fighters. These guys will give you some rounds, but these guys are not, you know, up there in terms of, you know, skill set. And that's why I think there was such an emphasis placed on Jin Sasaki sparring. You know, he's been over the last 3 or 4 training camps. Issei Nakaya, the chairman of the gym, he's been sending him to America at the Salas Boxing Academy. And Jin Sasaki has sparred with guys like Carmel Moulton, and a couple other 47-pounders. I can't think of them all right now, but he's been getting a lot of high-level work in Las Vegas. And I think that sparring will serve him dividends. I gave you guys the exclusive story here on True School Sports. When Angelo Leo was here in Japan for the Tomoe Kameda fight, you know, one of the gyms we trained at was Hachiochi Nakaya Boxing Gym, which is Jin Sasaki's boxing gym. And so I was asked by the chairman of the gym, Issei Nakaya, did Team Leo have any sparring partners? And I gave him a name, and he said, no, that guy is too light for Jin Sasaki, and we want to spar a black guy. So, you know, I contacted a couple fighters, and I came back with a couple names to Issei Nakaya, and the name they ultimately settled on was Pistol Pete Dobson. So Pete Dobson came to Japan. He sparred Jin for like 2 or 3 weeks, and you know that was a look that I think could pay some sort of dividends here. Although I will say I don't think Pete Dobson and Brian had the same motor. I think Brian Norman Jr.'s output is higher than Pete, but in terms of like dimensions, frame, things like that, they're similar in that regard, and they're both physically strong welterweights. So there are some similarities in terms of like dimensions and some things that they like to do in the ring, but I still think their styles are different, you know. But again, it's still American sparring. So I think Jin is gonna have to trust his training and trust his sparring more than anything. So his biggest weakness to me is his competition and not having, you know, top contenders readily available in Asia to fight and spar, you know. That's one aspect of it. Now, obviously, the other weakness is he's got two, in my opinion, he's got two other weaknesses going against him. Three, actually. The other one is I think his chin. You know, he's been dropped multiple times at the Japanese level. He's been stopped once by Andy Hiroka, but he was weight drained. He did miss weight, and he has. It's been documented many times he was weight drained. So you can put whatever stock into that you want to, but you know that was the case. He's been dropped a couple of times and had to get up off the canvas to stop fighters like Keito Obara, Kaki Yuba, these kind of fighters. So durability is another one. You know, when Brian Norman Jr. starts touching him, can he take the shots? That's another one. And then the third one, now this will only be a weakness for Jin Sasaki, in my opinion, if Brian Norman Jr. decides to actually box. If Brian Norman doesn't box at all in this fight, then this weakness can't be exploited. I think Jin Sasaki doesn't have. I think Brian Norman Jr. has the lighter feet. If Norman boxes Jin, I think Jin will have a hard time finding him in the ring. And so I think that that weakness can only be exploited if Brian Norman Jr. is mentally disciplined enough to fight like that. You know. So really, it's only like in the ring, durability, and yeah, just his durability. I think his durability is the main thing. The other one is only going to be a weakness if Brian Norman fights a certain way, and then the other one is just the fact that he's in Asia and they don't have welterweights. So those are his weaknesses. His strengths, oh my God, his strengths, big time puncher, big left hook. But his biggest strength, and you know, because I did get a chance to watch Jin Sasaki spar Pete Dobson on one occasion, and one thing that even surprised me about Jin was his timing, his ability to counterpunch. He doesn't really throw a jab. I think Brian Norman Jr. will have the advantage in the jab department. But even though Jin Sasaki is not known for having a great jab or a consistent jab, he has this weird ability to counter. And not just counter, I mean counter and throw from angles that don't even look like they're there. Because I saw it a couple of times. Pete Dobson would lead with an educated jab, and then Jin would counter from an angle that you wouldn't think was there and would score at times. So that was really impressive to me. And I think that'll probably be his best attribute going into the fight. It's not his power, it's not his speed, it's his timing. So I think that'll be something from the Norman side of things that you got to go ahead and look at as you know, from his side of things, you know. So there's that. We got another super chat from Ant. Shout out to Ant. He says, "Hey BT, big fan. I just want to let you know that we appreciate your content greatly. Even as a more casual viewer, your videos give me insight on fighters I'm not familiar with. Great work." And thank you, man. That's the whole point of why I do what I do here on True School Sports, because I genuinely feel like there's so many fighters out there that are very good fighters. But you know, people like boxing media is lazy. Like let's just be real. A lot of you YouTube channels out there are very lazy. You don't do your homework. You don't go ahead and try to like give shine to fighters unless they're like big names like Canelo, like Crawford or Tank. So for me, it's like I feel like there's so many fighters out there with their stories waiting to be told that could captivate the imaginations of the boxing world. And this fight is one of them fights. These are two of these kind of fighters, you know, Brian Norman and Jin Sasaki. So yeah, thank you. I appreciate you and thank you for the super chat. And I appreciate every last one of you guys that come here and talk to me, because there's a million YouTube channels and there's a lot of good channels out there that put out great content. And I'm glad you guys spend any amount of time with me on this channel, because the most valuable thing you could spend on anybody isn't even money. It's their time. And a lot of you guys spend a lot of time here on True School Sports. So that doesn't go in vain. And that's why I go so I put a lot of time into this, because you know you guys put a lot of time into spending time with me. So you know, Thank you so much, and I really appreciate it. TCP says Sasaki has the best face defense in the division. No one blocks punches with his face like Sasaki can. That's true. I mean, he does get hit a lot, so I won't even. There's no argument there. First Jin and Sasaki fight, no fight I'm ever watching. I heard of them, I just never watched. So yeah, I listen. No matter who wins this fight, whether it's Norman, whether it's Jin, if there was ever a fight in boxing where I feel like it's gonna deliver on action, it's this fight. I don't normally get surprised. I don't get surprised about many things in boxing, but if this fight were to somehow be a boring fight or not produce, something of some moment of excitement, that would actually shock me, because if their styles are made for each other, and I've been saying that since September, The degenerate gambler says Sasaki beats him. There is a noticeable speed difference. I think when I break it down, I think Brian Norman has better feet than Jin Sasaki, right? And I think Jin might actually have a hand speed advantage. I can see that. Say what you want about American boxing, but all other countries come here to get real work. It's like they earn their stripes when they spar here. Exactly. And that's why I always say, because not just in boxing, but all over the world, there's this big anti-American agenda. But, every fighter, like even the great Naoya Inoue, who's like one of the best pound fighters in the world, he's had to come to America to get sparring. So America is still the mecca of boxing, whether they want to acknowledge it or not. And we still got the best work. So yeah, you're right. You're on the money. Get an original name. Hook like Berlanga is a moron. I agree. That guy is a moron. Pete Dobson actually has the same stance and hand positioning. Nice comparison. Yeah, they sparred him, so it's gonna be it might serve him well. Norman Senior's dad talked to me about that, and he said that it ain't gonna help him with nothing, but we'll see. The ring, fighters and trainers alike can do as much talking as they want, but the ring always tells the truth. Norman can be overly aggressive, which sometimes leave him open to his head movement and guard can lapse during exchanges. I think Sasaki can exploit it. I think he can too, unless of course there was an adjustment made in camp by the Normans, and if that doesn't change and that same mistake keeps happening, Sasaki can exploit it. The biggest difference is Sasaki having to spar with big, strong American punchers. Let me see. Yeah, he has a spike. Like Norman's level of sparring in his career is on a different level than Sasaki, because Norman has sparred with Terrence Crawford. So, we'll see. I saw Japanese people on Twitter say that this is the strongest and more in shape Jin has ever looked in his career. Would you agree? I would definitely agree, because I think, he had 3 sparring partners. And normally Jin Sasaki, from what I know in the past, he doesn't carry that many sparring partners for most camps, because he doesn't have to, because these guys in Asia, they can't really fuck with him. I can't wait to tune in for this fight. Just know you're an inspiration, man. And that comment comes from Kicking It with Kid. Kicking It with Kid. Shout out to you, champ. I'm glad I could inspire you, and thank you for the kind words. I'll make sure I continue to inspire. Cash for Home says Jin can catch Norman, but it has to be early. He tends to start slow. With his speed, it can make some things happen early in the fight. That's why I'm saying the first couple rounds of this fight are going to be so interesting. Probably some of the most interesting early rounds we've seen in a while in boxing. I respect that you found an untapped market in Japan from a YouTube standpoint. It's actually very smart on your part. Well, it's not even that I was looking for an untapped market. I actually genuinely enjoy it. I genuinely enjoy it. And Japan's at a point in their history where, they're in a golden age. There's a lot of top fighters coming out of Japan, and they've really invested into the youth system over the years. So I mean, it makes sense. I feel like everybody in boxing should be covering Japanese boxing, but it takes time and real work. So it's not easy, and not everybody can come to Japan. So I get it. Like, I get why people don't. But yeah. Sasaki is about to take a nap. J Bean boxing and betting. It's very, very Very, very possible. Very, very possible. There's not as much true fight fans as there are man fans now. Too many fight fans of certain fighters that blinds them from weaknesses. Exactly. You know, a lot of fight fans aren't fight fans. They're fans of a fighter, which is different. You know, over here on True School, we're definitely fight fans. You know, I mean, don't get it twisted. I got some of my favorite fighters. You know, I got, like, you know, your Angelo Leos, your Ken Shiros, your Atif Obertons, your Philip Hergoviches. These two guys, better BM. I mean, I got a lot of favorite fighters in boxing, but you know, at the end of the day, it's boxing before the fighters. You know, in a way, of course. All right, so people have been asking me, and it's been getting agitating having to answer this question. What is my final prediction? So I've given you guys the strengths. I've given you guys the weaknesses. A lot of people, they believe that, you know, I'm gonna say Jin Sasaki because I'm the Japanese boxing guy in America, and I'm quote unquote biased for Japanese fighters. Some people think I'm gonna pick Brian Norman Jr. because, you know, they've given me a lot of access, and people actually think that, you know, I pick fighters and pick who I like based on who's giving me interviews, which is hilarious because you guys don't even know how unbothered I am about getting interviews. I've done so many interviews that, like, if a guy doesn't want to do an interview with me, it doesn't really, like, it is what it is. There's plenty of fighters in boxing. I don't mind talking to guys with 2 fights, 3 fights. So a lot of people think I want to pick Norman because, you know, they've been very gracious to me here in Japan. But look, my final prediction is this. Before I get into who I think will win the fight, I think this is going to be a fight of the year candidate. I honestly think so. I think it is definitely going to be a fight of the year candidate. I'm gonna go out on a limb. I'm gonna say both guys get dropped. I think Brian will get dropped, and I think Jin will get dropped in this fight. And I think somebody is gonna have to get up off the canvas and show who wants it really more. You know, I think it's gonna be one of them kind of fights. But ultimately, in the end, I think Brian Norman Jr. will win the fight. I think my final prediction for the fight is Brian Norman Jr. TKO 7 rounds. Listen, I love Jin Sasaki, and it would be really it would be something to watch in live and in person to see the first ever Japanese welterweight champion of the world crown. I mean, that's like that's iconic history right there if it does happen. But Jin has been hit by far less punches than Brian, and I think that, you know, no matter what Brian Norman Sr. tells me, I think at some point in the fight, Brian Norman Jr. is going to decide to box. And when he decides to box, I think Jin Sasaki is going to commit. And when he commits, I think it's going to be Christmas come early for Brian Norman Jr. And he's going to catch Jin Sasaki and ultimately stop him. That's what I think. Brian Norman Jr. has a lot to lose here. You know, he's got big fights. You know, Ennis hasn't said himself he's moving up yet. So in my mind, the Ennis fight is still in play. But yeah, I just think the fundamentals. I also think too, like Jin Sasaki's hand positioning when he's in the pocket. He likes to fight out of the high guard, so I think there will be plenty of times where Brian Norman Jr. does have a chance to uppercut when he's leaning forward, and that's going to hurt Jin Sasaki. I think Jin Sasaki's lack of a consistent jab is going to be his ultimate detriment in this fight because Brian Norman is going to be able to command the fight at a range that he wants to. And one thing you must know about high-level boxing is that ranges when you fight. You know, ranges at the highest level mean everything. And I think Jin Sasaki, in order for Jin to knock you out, he kind of needs you right there to let him land his left hook and to counter you. And I just don't think Brian Norman Jr. will give it to him, give that to him as much as he wants. So I'm not as confident in my pick as I was like 2 days ago because I went back and I watched a bunch of Brian Norman Jr. film because I honestly was considering moving off my pick and picking Jin Sasaki, but I can't ignore what my eyes are seeing. Brian Norman Jr. is definitely maturing, and I think really to me, it's the ball's on his court. I think if Brian Norman Jr. comes out and he makes it a firefight the whole way through the fight, he might get knocked out. But if he takes at least 1 to 2 rounds to box and use Jin Sasaki's overzealousness against him, he will stop him. So I think that yeah, Brian Norman, TKO 7 in an absolute shootout. Both guys get knocked down. And yeah, Brian Norman will probably have to get up off the canvas to stop him. But I think it'll be the kind of fight where the stock of both fighters is going to go up, because Brian Norman Jr. is going to have to show some resilience in this fight. And that might make people press boots more to fight him. And then Sasaki, people are going to finally realize, okay, Jin Sasaki is better than we realized. BT wasn't just being a fanboy, a weirdo for Japanese boxing. So that's my thoughts. What are your guys' thoughts? Let me see. Jay Bean Boxing Betting says, this is easy work for Norman. Jin got too many big wide hooks. 5 to 7 rounds, book it. It's 5 to 7, but I'm not gonna say it's easy work only because Brian Norman Jr. leaves his head on the center line, and Jin does have very good timing. So if he gets caught with that, if Brian Norman gets caught with the left hook, he's gonna get buzzed. Because I'm telling you, and only Brian will know when he's in the ring and he gets touched. But I think Jin punches harder than Cuevas. Y'all said the same thing about Santillan. Nah, Santillan is good, but Santillan not punching like Santillan is more of like an attrition puncher. He's gotta land 3, 4, 5 to get you out of there. Jin can really hurt you with one singular punch. True Squad, I legit love the comment on your last fight. Brian, round by 7 TKO. Holy shit. I might have to put $100 since you said that. Listen, do what you got to do, man. Do what you got to do. I don't give betting advice here because boxing is unpredictable, but do what you got to do. Do what you feel is right. Your Japanese card has been revoked. That's funny. A lot of you guys. I mean, look, I'm being down the middle. Like, I'm being down the middle. I have many reasons to be biased for both fighters. It would be very easy for me to come on here and be biased for Jin because I love Jin Sasaki. It would be very easy for me to come on here and be biased for Brian Norman Jr. because I love Brian Norman Jr. and what he brings to the table and the way he's doing things. But nah, I'm giving you guys what I really believe is gonna happen. True School secretly wants to be Japanese. Absolutely not. I love Japan. It's a great country, but I quite like being BT. I quite like being from South Florida, where the grass is green and the girls are the prettiest. We got the best hockey team in the world, the best weather in the world. I quite like being who I am and where I'm from, but respect to the Japanese. I love the culture. I love the people here, and I have a lot of friends here. But I like being myself. I don't gotta want to be anybody other than myself. The most important thing for Norman is keeping that right hand pinned to the side of his head, and I agree. If he doesn't do that, he could be getting some big time trouble. How do I feel about no drug testing? If that's the case, then I guess we're in for an amazing fight. If there's no drug testing, then we're in for an absolute barn burner. How would Jin Sasaki do against Naoya Inoue? They're not fighting each other. They're not in the same weight class. And I know this is Hyro, so I'm not going to answer that question. But if they fought, it would be a very entertaining fight. Shout out to Hyro from the burner account. I see you, Hyro, in the burner account. It's crazy that you were putting attention on Jin a while ago. Now he's getting a shot. You called it. Oh, yeah, because we're a little bit ahead of the curve here on True School Sports. While everybody is talking about Devin and Ryan and Rolly in this weight class, I'm actually covering boxing. So when you cover boxing, when you're actually covering the sport, it's just different. It's different. That's what I'm saying. We listen. I got love for a lot of people, cities and countries in the world and cultures, but there's nowhere else in this world that I would rather be than be from South Florida, and more specifically, Broward County, Dania Beach. So South Florida, stand up. Belle Glade in the house. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The only thing is Japan fights have zero energy. Everybody's quiet. It's a different atmosphere. Yeah. I'm wondering what kind of atmosphere this is going to be because, Jin from going back and watching some of his more earlier fights, His supporters seem to be a little bit more louder. But, you know, yeah, Japan is sometimes the crowd can be very subdued, which is crazy because in baseball, it's the complete opposite. In baseball, it's like soccer. They got drums, they got songs, they're doing all this stuff. So, yeah, it's insane. TCP wants to know, can South Florida produce boxers? I'm still waiting. Oh, so you never heard of, so I guess you never heard of Glenn Johnson, the Road Warrior, one of the realest fighters to ever come, to ever put on a pair of boxing gloves, would go and fight anybody in their hometown and beat them. Ask Roy Jones what happened when he fought a South Floridian. Glenn Johnson, you know, the fighting pride of Miami, Florida. You ever heard of Randall Bailey? Randall Bailey, two-time champion, 140 and 147. Listen, you think Brian Nolan punches hard? You think Jin Sasaki punches hard? I'll tell you this right now. Randall Bailey might hit both these dudes, and they both might get slept because Randall Bailey was really punching like that. Opalaka stand up. You know, one of the hardest punches of the last 20 years, pound for pound in boxing, Randall Bailey. You ever heard of Teofimo Lopez? I know he claims to be from New York, but he's a little confused because he didn't learn he didn't learn how to box in New York. He learned how to box at the Davy Powell, lineal champion. You know, Xander Zayas about to fight for a world title. Davy Powell. I mean, plenty of fighters came from South Florida. And there's more on the way. Bermain Stavern, he's from South Florida, first Haitian heavyweight champion. You know, wasn't the most talented guy, but Haitian heavyweight champion. Andre Berto, another one, champion. And then that's not even mentioning all the fighters that are on the way up, like Lorenz Medina, Lazaro Medina, Eric Tudor, Sasha Tudor, Luis Hernandez, Andrew Lawson, and the list goes on and on and on. Marcel Volontier. I mean, there's plenty of talent in South Florida. So I don't know why you're talking out the side of your mouth about South Florida. Winky Wright's not South Florida. Winky Wright, that's Tampa. That's more like West Florida. But, you know, shout out to Winky Wright. Harold says the biggest fight in 147 involves Al Heyman. Talking about who? Who are you talking about, Harold? You talking about Pacquiao? Come on, man. Talking about Manny Pacquiao? You know? Shout out to Pacquiao. Biggest? I wouldn't say the biggest. But wait, to each his own. Yeah, no. I didn't say Winky Wright. I didn't claim Winky Wright. Winky Wright is not South Florida. But I told you Glenn Johnson. And Glenn Johnson's he's from South Florida. Randall Bailey's from South Florida. Teofimo Lopez is from South Florida. And Xander Zayas is from South Florida. So there's four right there. I just named you four right there. But listen, guys, we're an hour in. I still got other things I want to get to, right? So I'm gonna get to some of the more like the storylines revolving around the fight. I got 3 more talking points I want to get through. Shout out to everybody here. True School Sports in the building. Make sure you smash the like button, subscribe. It is, in fact, Brian Norman Jr. versus Jin Sasaki fight day. I will be there at the Ota City General Gymnasium with a couple of my Japanese friends. So anybody in Japan who's going to be at the fight, if you see me, don't be a stranger. Come say hello. I'm friendly. I like talking to people and yeah. But listen, one of the big topics of this live, and it's going to be one of the talking points now and after the fight, is Jaron Ennis, you know, because it was stated by Eddie Hearn that Jaron Ennis is going to move to 154. Now, we haven't heard it directly from Jaron Ennis himself, and Jaron Ennis had an interview that he did after he turned on the Virgil Ortiz fight where he said that there was miscommunications between him and his team. And he said from that point forward, back in December, he said, don't believe anything you hear unless it comes from me, right? So we've heard from Eddie Hearn, but Eddie Hearn is a promoter, and I don't trust promoters. So until I hear from Jaron Ennis himself, I'm going to assume he's at 147. And truth be told, look, I've been the main guy that's been bitching and moaning for the last year about Jaron Ennis moving to 154. And of course, there's going to be a part of me that will be very happy if he goes to 154 because there's a lot of good fights up there for him, a lot of names. But all those times when I told you guys Boots should have been moved up to 154, you guys looked me in my face and told me, well, no, BT, you got to understand. He wants to stay at 147 and become undisputed. So you know what? Nah, man, I'm not trying to hear that. If Brian Nolan comes to this fight, or even if he loses, I don't care who wins or loses this fight, to be honest with you. If it's Brian Norman Jr., then I would try one more time to make that fight happen. If Brian Norman turns it down again, then it's deuces. You go up to 47. You go up to 54, right? If it's Jin, oh my God. If it's Jin, you should definitely stay at 47. Because the way I see it, and I'm telling y'all the truth, the way I see it, you know, Boots is from Philadelphia. Stephen Fulton is from Philadelphia. Now your Inoue is from Japan. Jin Sasaki is from Japan. So the way I see it is like, you got to look at avenging the loss of your fellow Philadelphian against a fellow Japanese fighter. You know, that's how I'm seeing it. And it's a chance to become a 3-belt unified champion. I mean, come on, why would you not want to do that? You know, so I think whether it's Brian or Jin, both those fights are really interesting for Boots. And guess what? He's going to be the favorite in both of them by a good margin. So why not do the fight? You know, I'm not going to get into what I know, but all I'll say is this. I know the narrative is that Jaron Ennis, or that Brian Norman Jr. is ducking Jaron Ennis. And at one point in time, I did believe that. But what time has shown me, because time is the best revealer of all, and other things that I know, which I will not say here on the channel because I can't say them, but I know that Brian Norman Jr. does want to fight that he does want to fight Jaron Ennis. He does. Honestly, he does. So I believe if they do get to this fight and Jaron Ennis negotiates with Brian Norman Jr., I believe it will happen next. But again, he has to get to this fight, and he has a very tough task to complete here in Japan against Jin Sasaki. So he should listen. If he was really serious, because I've heard Boots say it 10,000 times in interviews. He said he wants to go undisputed at 147, 154, 160, and 168. He wants to be a 4-time undisputed champion. Well, guess what? You can't be a 4-time undisputed champion if you never become a 1-time undisputed champion. So, you know, stay at 147, because let's be real. Do you think Boots is going to, like, realistically, guys, do you think Jaron Ennis goes to 154 and he fights Virgil Ortiz right away? I don't think so. Do you think he fights Bakram Brazilian right away? I don't think so. You know, and if you do, okay, and my thing is, if you do believe that he'll fight those kind of tough fights first fight at 154, where in his resume, where in his career do you have any proof of him taking that kind of a fight that make you so confident? You know, let's be like logical here for a second. Based on the way his career has been managed, because it's not always the fight, it's not the fighter's fault most of the time. Managers have their own roadmaps for these fighters. Based on the way he's been managed and promoted, at what point in Jaron Ennis' career would it convince you that he would take an extremely tough fight for his first fight at 154? I just don't see it. So I think his best bet is to stay at 147. Them guys are still going to be there at 154. You can still move there in like a year, you know. Try to circle back and do the Norman fight if he wins, and if not him, then fight Jin. Go get back for Philadelphia. Like, you know, Stephen Fulton came here to Japan and got destroyed, like clobbered by Inoue, and that's like Boots' main man. You know, so I feel like Japan versus Philly, that's a good little rivalry in boxing right there. Go ignite that at 47 in a fight where you're supposed to win. Now the Philly fighter will be the favorite and the Japanese will be the underdog. So what you guys think? What do the boxing fans think? I know I probably got some crazy comments. He says Xander Zayas is more Puerto Rican. I'm talking about guys who grew up in South Florida. Xander Zayas did grow up in South Florida. Xander Zayas literally moved to South Florida when he was 5 years old. Xander Zayas learned how to box in South Florida. Xander Zayas graduated from Plantation High School. He's as South Florida can get. Like, you don't know what you're talking about, and you're trying to talk shit about South Florida and TCP. You keep talking. If you keep talking about South Florida the wrong way. Now, let me see. If Brian Norman Jr. wins, he should challenge Boots at 154. No more excuses. Both can make. No, that fight doesn't make any sense at 154. That fight makes no sense at 154 because Boots does not have he won't have a title. Brian Norman will have a title. The fight has the fight doesn't have the significance at 154 than it would at 147. At 147, it would legitimately be the two best guys. At 54, it's just two guys, two contenders. Nah, 47. how many hours until the fight? So right now it's 4:35 a.m. here in Japan. The sun is actually, like, look, I don't know if y'all can see that. The sun, it's already sunny outside here in Japan. But I gotta be at the arena at 3 p.m. in Japan time, so 11 hours from me having to be there. So about like 12 to 14 hours from the main event, I would say. You know, still a little bit of time for you guys in the States, but it's getting closer and closer as time progresses. So yeah. Hi, I'm from Morocco. I love your videos with Holyfield and Bo. Shout out to Morocco. They got very pretty women from Morocco. I've met a couple from South Florida in my life. Yeah, great videos. Shout out to Yvette Holyfield. Shout out to Riddick Bowe. You know, two of my favorite fighters in boxing history, and it's a pleasure to you know, have had the opportunity to document those guys and interview them in the magnitude that I did. So thank you. Hold on, let me get my charger, because hold on, guys, give me 1 second. Let me get the charger. Hold on. We're here though. We're here in the. It's another day, another night, another day, another fight, another day, another live from the luxury True School Sports Penthouse Estate in Yokohama, Kanagawa, Japan. We here, giving y'all that world-class boxing talk, giving you guys the definitive Brian Norman Jr. Jin Sasaki breakdown from all angles. From all angles. I give you guys the style breakdowns. I give you guys the American storylines. I'm going to give you guys a Japanese storyline here in a second. Just the whole thing. He said, Hyro says, when are you going to make a non-Japanese video? Hyro, I talk to you on the phone every day. I've answered that question to you 7,000 times. I'm not going to make it 8,000 times. You already know. I already told you when. Champ. Tyrone Legacy says, what up, BT? What up, Tyrone? Good to see you, champ, in the chat. What is the expected crowd size? So the venue is not a massive venue. You know, Jin could become a big star if he wins this fight, but he's not there yet. But they're fighting at a cool venue. They're fighting at a venue that I've been to, that I was just at 6 months ago on New Year's Eve. They're fighting at the Ota City General Gymnasium, which is very well known for not just hosting boxing events, but hosting wrestling. Like they host New Japan Wrestling and sumo wrestling and things like that. So the capacity at Ota City General Gymnasium is actually 4,000. It's not a big arena, but yeah, it's sold out. So it'll be a sellout, but it won't be a massive crowd. It'll be 4,000 seats. You know, about 4,000 there. He says, bro, I grew up in South Florida. I can talk about South Florida if I want to. I don't live there anymore, but that's home for me. Well, then you should know if like I just named you 4 fighters from South Florida. They're from South Florida. Like I know Xander may have been born in Puerto Rico. He's a South Florida fighter. He learned to box in South Florida. He still lives in South Florida. He graduated high school in South Florida. He's a South Floridian. Same thing with Tio, Randall Bailey, Glenn Johnson. You know, so you can talk about South Florida, just have a better opinion. Charleston versus the Island Boys. See, Harold, you're doing it again, Harold. You're doing what I told you about on the phone. You're doing that thing where you try to divert my attention from the main topic. We're not doing that, champ. We're not doing that. You're not going to divert my attention. But anyway. So look, we'll go to screen share because I got 2 more talking points, and then we'll go like 30 minutes just freestyling live. So look, there's been a lot of talk back in the States. I've been seeing it on the Boxing Voice and other channels. Shout out to the Boxing Voice about Devin Haney. And like, I got nothing against Devin Haney. He's an accomplished fighter. I never really understood people's love affair with Devin Haney. Like, to me, he's not an exciting fighter. He's not like this outspoken, crazy personality, but you know, people like him for some reason, and they talk about him. So and he's a welterweight now. Like right now, Devin is what? Like I know he's ranked number 1 in the WBC. He's got a high ranking in a couple of the organizations. But Devin was on Twitter, and I'm waiting for it to load because I got a lot of tabs on this computer. Devin was on Twitter shooting his mouth off when he said, somebody tweeted Devin and said, Norman called out Devin to fight next at 147 for the WBO. The Ring Magazine could be online for that or not. And Devin Haney commented by saying that, and I quote, Brian Norman Jr., he is ass. So, he says that, that Brian Norman is ass. Now, do I agree with Devin Haney? Hell no, I don't. Brian Norman Jr. is many things. He's explosive. He's athletic. He's charismatic. But ass at boxing, he is not that. That is foolishness. He's the youngest world champion in boxing, but ass, definitely not that. Listen, man. Devin Haney just fought Jose Ramirez, a shot to pieces, unmotivated, like just shell of what Jose Ramirez used to be like 5 years ago. And he still failed to look great in that fight. He did what he had to do to win. He won the fight. It wasn't like a close fight. Like, credit to him. It's his life in the ring, and he fought the way that he felt he needed to beat Jose Ramirez. So I understand that not every fight is going to be sensational. I understand, but like, we don't even know if Devin Haney really can take a punch anymore, because Jose Ramirez didn't really do much to him, and he hasn't really fought a puncher since Ryan Garcia pummeled him all over the Barclays Center back in last April. So even though he was on steroids, so Devin, I don't know, man. I know he's still at his old, but I want to see him I want to see him in with the puncher. Now, it is worth noting, and we'll go back to screen share. It is worth noting that Brian Norman currently holds the WBO title. Devin Haney is not currently ranked in the WBO rankings, so Brian Norman can't fight him for a voluntary, and he can't fight him for a mandatory, and Devin Haney doesn't have a belt yet. But Devin Haney's ranked number 1 in the WBC, and Devin Haney is ranked number 2 in the WBA. So it looks like there is a clear path for Devin Haney to fight maybe the winner of Pacquiao versus Barrios, or maybe if Pacquiao wins and Pacquiao vacates. I don't know. I don't know what his most likely title shot is right now, but it's not Brian Norman Jr. because he's not ranked and he doesn't got a belt. So I think if they're gonna fight, he's gonna have to win a title, and I think that would be an intriguing fight. I mentioned a lot about Brian Norman's issues keeping his head on the center line. Devin Haney could exploit that. Devin Haney throws very good straight punches, has good legs, but Devin Haney is his power gonna is he gonna punch hard enough for Brian Norman to respect him? Like, that's a question to ask. Is Devin Haney gonna be able to take a punch? Does he have PTSD from the Ryan Garcia fight? Because that is a thing for fighters when they get knocked out and beat up the way he did. That's still a thing. Like, we still saw it. He may be undefeated, but we still all saw that, and the residual effects could still be there. So I think it's a hard fight. Even, like, look, and y'all may not want to hear this, but I'm gonna tell you guys this. If Brian Norman were to lose to Jin Sasaki, I think Sasaki is a dangerous fighter for Devin Haney, because let's just be logical here for 2 seconds. Ryan Garcia didn't knock down Devin Haney just because of steroids. He knocked him down because he has a crazy fast, explosive left hook. Now let's ask ourselves this question: what's Jin Sasaki's best punch? The left hook, and it's an explosive left hook. So he's not even out of the doghouse if he fought Jin, even though I know Jin is not no great like technical boxer or anything like that. That's a dangerous fight for Devin even there. So what I'm saying is this, guys. Devin Haney needs to show himself to actually be a top guy at 47. Beating Jose Ramirez, a blown up, shot to pieces, shell of himself, doesn't really show us much as to where he's at as a 47 pounder. Now, I see that he's ranked number 1. Suleiman Sissoko is ranked number 2. Conor Ben's 3. Devin Haney versus Conor Ben or Sissoko are good fights. Those are fights that I wouldn't mind seeing. Those are fights that I think would actually give us more of an idea of just who the hell is Devin Haney at this stage of his career in the welterweight division, because he's very much an unproven welterweight. If there was ever such a thing as an unproven fighter in a weight class right now, Devin Haney at welterweight is definitely that. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Devin Haney. Let me see. Degenerate Gambler says, what do y'all think about Crocker versus Donovan for the IBF title? Donovan already beat his ass, but they got DQ'd after punching after the bell. Interesting fight. Again, these are the kind of fights that are going to be part of this whole transitional period in the welterweight division. I don't have an opinion much on that fight because I'll be honest, I didn't even watch I didn't even watch them fight. I saw a couple highlights, but I didn't even watch them fight, so I don't even want to bullshit you. What up, BT? I'm looking so forward. Norman versus Jin. It's going to be a very entertaining fight, but I got Brian. But I see both of them getting dropped. I think that's going to happen too. I think both guys are gonna. They got their flaws, they got their vulnerabilities, and both guys are gonna definitely exploit those holes and vulnerabilities. So, yeah. Boots has the easiest road to undisputed, but we all know Norman is holding that belt for dear life. I don't agree with that. I don't think so. In fact, I want to say I know. I know he's not holding on that belt for dear life. Like, think about it, right? Brian Norman was like, what, 23 when he won that belt? Most of the time, I don't care if it's Boots, Norman, Angelo Leo, Inoue, Tyson Fury, Opataya. No matter who the champion is, normally when a champion wins the belt, they're entitled to getting a first defense. They are. I mean, because the title is what gets you the money, right? That being said, like the fight a year later, less than a year later, because this whole Norman Boots thing was back last September. It hasn't even been a year, and the fight is like definitely 2 times bigger than it was. At least, yeah, it's much bigger than it was when they first got it offered to him. So I think if Norman wins this fight, the fight will get done. If Boots is willing to stay at 47 to make the fight happen, But we'll see. What if Jin beats Boots too? Oh my God! If Jin beat Norman and Boots, Jin will be an icon. Jin will be an icon. Finally, you can make videos that aren't Japanese content. Hyro, I don't know if you pay attention, and I hate to be the bearer of bad news. Whether I'm in Japan or not, I'm always going to make Japanese content because, for one, it's a big part of this channel. And 2, I like it. And 3, a lot of American fighters are inactive. So, shit, while they're inactive, I'll talk about other things. If Jin could catch Haney, he would get him out of there. That's what I'm saying. I think he catch him the wrong way. That's not even a question. Why do y'all fools care about how many people are on the venue? It's a great fight to watch. Shut the hell up. That's what I'm saying. Like, a lot of y'all aren't even in Japan to go to the fight. Brian is going to beat Jin convincingly. He could. It's possible. There is not one outcome that would shock me in this fight. Not one. The only thing that would shock me is if, like, the fight ends on a technical decision, anticlimactically because of a cut, and it's a boring fight. That a boring fight is the only outcome that will shock me in this fight. Suleiman, yeah, well, let him get his shot because Sissoko's been working his way up the rankings for a long time, and he deserves a shot like anybody else. Why not make a video about Filipino? Hyro, I haven't eaten yet, and it's like 5 in the morning. I'm getting pissed off, Hyro. You asked me questions to piss me off on purpose. So how do I feel about so a lot of you guys have been asking me about the co-main event, Christian Arnetta and Simsiri, the guy from Thailand. It's very good fight. Another entertaining fight. 2 explosive punchers. Arnetta is trying to become, he's trying to join Melvin Jerusalem and Pedro Tajuan as the only other Filipino champions in boxing. I like the fight. I think Arnetta will win. I think he's too strong. But the fight on the undercard, I really like. It's actually 2 fights on the card I really like. Is Rhea Abbey versus this guy named Yuya. I forgot his name, but Yuya something. Yuya. He's like 8-0. That's a good fight. Abbey's a former world title challenger. He's trying to stay in the rankings. A lot of people in Japan seem to think that this guy Yuya will score the upset. So that's an intriguing fight. And then you have the other Japanese welterweight prospect, Sora Tanaka, the Mike Tyson in Yokohama. He might actually be the most exciting young fighter in Japan, but like nobody really knows about him. He's fighting for the OBPF title against some guy, I forgot his name, but it's Sora Tanaka's 4th fight. And I think whether Jin Sasaki wins or loses this fight, I think one of the big fights that's going to happen one day in Japan, and just in the welterweight division in general, is going to be Jin Sasaki versus Sora Tanaka. I think that's going to be a big fight. So he's fighting for the OBPF title. If he wins the fight, I'm pretty sure he's going to get a top 15 ranking, because normally when you win an OBPF title, you get a ranking. You get you get ranked in the top 15. So that's what it is. But it's actually, believe it or not, I've been excited. I've been so excited for the Jin versus Brian fight that I've completely neglected any videos about the undercard. But it's actually a very strong undercard. It's a very strong undercard. Who do I think wins? Arnett is going to win that fight. I first saw Jin fight versus Kwame Bala, and I fell in love with his boxing. So I searched on my YouTube, and I found your channel about Brian Norman and Jin, and I've been here ever since. And yeah, Bala, that was on the undercard of Inoue Doheny. I remember that fight. In fact, I remember I was hanging out with my good buddy, the best featherweight in the world, IBF champion, Angelo Leo, when we were watching that fight. And I remember I was telling Angelo about Jin. And it's ironic. Like, that was the first time Angelo saw Jin fight, and then Angelo went to training at Jin's gym for the Kameda fight. So it's crazy how all this stuff is kind of tied in. All right. Hyro said, I thought this was anything goes. You said the last 30 minutes. No, I'm not there yet. We're not there yet, Hyro. I'm just answering comments. I got one more talking point, and then it's a free throw after that. I got one more talking point. Right, one last thing. So what I wanted to highlight, guys, is actually the underrated Japanese storyline coming into the fight, because I know back in the States, Top Rank, I'm happy that Top Rank carries the fight, and they allow Japanese boxing to get exposure in the States, because if it was but Top Rank, I wouldn't have the knowledge that I have on a lot of these guys. I would never have been introduced to guys like Kenshiro or Junto or Jin Sasaki or Kosai Tanaka. So thank you to Top Rank for securing the rights to Japanese boxing, so that my love for Japanese boxing could be sparked, so much so to the point where now, we're covering not just boxing as a whole, but Japanese boxing from the American perspective in English, so that we can give the people a better understanding for what's going on over here. But the underrated storyline going into this fight, guys, comes from the Jin Sasaki side. And it's a storyline you're not going to hear nowhere else, because you have to know certain information to even present the storyline. So Jin Sasaki trains at Hachiyoshi Nakaya Boxing Gym, which is a very small, very modest, family-owned and operated gym. Been around for a couple decades now. And one of the chairman of the gym, Issei Nakaya, is a great friend of mine. Issei Nakaya is a big reason why I've been able to get access to go to some of these events and do a lot of things here in Japan. So I owe an amazing amount of gratitude to Issei Nakaya for everything that he's allowed me to help me do here in Japan. Right now, before I get into the storyline, I gotta explain to you guys the structure of Japanese boxing so you understand. In Japan, there's no Muhammad Ali Act. There's no federal law that says that your manager can't be your promoter, right? So in Japan, your manager can be your promoter. And in the cases of the boxing gyms and the chairmen of the boxing gyms are the managers and promoters for the fighter. Now, Hachiyoshi Nakaya being a smaller boxing gym, they don't have a lot of money. They they're not backed by the big streaming platform. So Nakaya Boxing Gym relies heavily upon Ohashi Boxing Gym and Tekken Boxing Gym, Hideki Ohashi and Mr. Honda. They rely on the funding from them for their gym, right? And in Japan, this fight's going to be shown on Lamino, which is a big network and big streaming platform. That's Lamino being involved, Top Rank being involved, Ohashi, Tekken. That's why they're able to compensate Brian Norman very well and Jin Sasaki very well, so that they could fight here in Japan. But Nakaya Boxing Gym has never produced a world champion. They've And this is the storyline coming in. Nakaya Boxing Gym has never produced a world champion, and this fight will mark the third time that a fighter from Nakaya Boxing Gym is challenging for the world title. Now, the other two times that a fighter from Nakaya Boxing Gym challenged for a world title, it was against very, very dangerous fighters. And I'll get to that here in a second. But let me go to screen share because I got to show you guys this. So look, here's me and the chairman of the gym. There's Issei Nakaya. This is back in November when I went to my first show at Corkin Hall. So this is Issei Nakaya. This is the guy that pretty much is responsible for taking Jin Sasaki from a 4-fight amateur as a 17-year-old to now, a world title challenger at 23 years old, one of the biggest punchers in world boxing, right? So very, very, very astute boxing mind. Very, very good, great person, great man. A big part of Jin Sasaki's career, right? So you got Nakaya, but not just, you got Issei, right? And by the way, guys, if you're on Instagram, make sure you guys go follow me on Instagram at Just a Kid from Dania. I'm trying to build my Instagram following up a little more. I post good things on there. I'm normally on Instagram. So you guys, if you want to get a hold of me, I'm very easy to find. Just a Kid from Dania, right there on Instagram. Shoot me a DM, follow me, comment. I'll get back to you. I'm normally on Instagram. So, yeah. But anyway, I wanted to show you guys this. So look, this right here, this is Issei Nakaya's father. I don't know his first name. I was looking for it, but he is the trainer of Jin Sasaki, and this guy has been in Japanese boxing for decades upon decades. He said in the press conference. He said in the press conference a couple of days ago that this might be his last chance. As you can tell, he's not a young guy. He's an old guy. He's an experienced, seasoned guy in life, and he understands the magnitude of this fight. This might be his last chance to win a world title as a trainer, and so it has a big significance for him. Now, look, just to give you guys historical context, the other two fighters from the Nakaya Gym that challenged for world titles, you had this guy right here. You had Yuji Watanabe. Yuji Watanabe was a super featherweight, and you may be asking me, you may say, BT, who did Yuji Watanabe fight? He was 25-5-1 with 23 knockouts. So the guy could punch. The boy could punch. He was a OBPF champion. He was also a Japanese super featherweight champion. So he was a 130-pounder, and his loss came when he challenged Gennaro Chiquinito Hernandez for the world title in 1992. He challenged Gennaro Hernandez for the world title in 1992, and he got knocked out in 6 rounds, right? So Yuji Watanabe got there. He couldn't handle the power of Gennaro Hernandez. Gennaro Hernandez was a damn good fighter. 38-2, 17 knockouts, hell of a fighter. Only ever lost to Floyd Mayweather Jr. and Oscar De La Hoya, right? So only the best of the best beat Gennaro Hernandez, and even some of the best didn't beat him because he beat some really good fighters in his own right, such as Azuma Nelson. So that was the first time a fighter from Nakaya Gym challenged for a world title. Now that was all the way in November of 1992. So they had to wait 20 years. They had to wait 20 years for the next fighter from their gym to challenge for a world title, and that fighter was right here, a fighter by the name of Makoto Fujigami, who was 23-12 with 14 knockouts. He had got to a decent level. He had won the OBPF middleweight title, so an accomplished fighter. And you may be asking me, BT, who did this guy fight? Well, Fujigami fought a guy by the name of Gennady Golovkin, and it wasn't for the WBC, WBA, WBO, or IBF title, but they did fight for the IBO. So technically, it was a world title, even though it wasn't one of the 4 recognized. But that was like the other biggest fight a fighter from this boxing gym had, and they fought Gennady Golovkin. And mind you, this was at a time where Golovkin was not very known. It was 2012. I was talking to Nakaya recently about this, and he told me that at that time, Golovkin wasn't known. And the fight they really wanted was Sergio Martinez, but Martinez was more known than Golovkin. And so they didn't know who Golovkin was, and they chose to go the Golovkin route. And obviously, Golovkin is a dangerous man. And Golovkin did this guy up bad in 3 rounds. Fujigami was a good, well-schooled southpaw boxer. I watched the fight like 2 nights. I actually watched this fight 2 days ago, but Fujigami just was outgunned in every department humanly possible. He could not handle the power of Gennady Golovkin at that point. So it's been a lifetime of work to get to this point for them. And look, just to illustrate my point, I'm going to illustrate my point, right? I'm gonna show you guys some pictures. Look, here's some pictures from these fights. Look, so this right here, this is Fujigami walking into the ring for the Golovkin fight back in 2012. Right here on the right side, where my mouse is, that's a young Issei Nakaya, and then to the left is his dad, right there, walking this guy to the ring before he got stopped in 3 rounds. So that's that fight right there. That's into 2012, and then right here, this is Nakaya's father with Yuji Watanabe right before the Janelle Hernandez fight. And so it's been a long time. Look, he had black hair back then. He was young and fresh, so when you factor these things in, when you factor in the gym's history, when you factor in all the work they put in, along with the fact that you have Jin in a big world title fight, there's a lot of hungry people in that corner. And that's what I'm saying. You can't underestimate the level of motivation that these guys are coming in with. And I just wanted to paint that picture, maybe give you guys a storyline that you didn't even hear about, that you would never even know. So yeah. But anyway, we're at that part of the live now. Y'all can ask whatever you want. I've got through all my talking points. It took me 1 hour and 41 minutes to get past it. And yeah. Fix Electronics says, where excellence meets expertise. That's right. The untouchable True School Sports Empire. Yes, good to see you. Thank you for the kind words. We try our best. That Lamino or that Leo versus Japanese fighter was a great fight. Yeah, Kameda, man. Kameda came with his best. This is not a very easy place to win, and it's not a very easy place to win. And we won, and we did it in a fashion that a lot of people didn't think we could do it in. We got my man, the Dundada boxer, my right hand man, 50 grand, Sean Tatel. By the way, Sean, as soon as this live is done, if you still got time, if you still want to do it, I will call you and we will do the collab video we spoke about, because look, the sun is out in Japan. So if the internet's not good where I'm at, I could walk to a better spot and we can get it done real quick. But good to see Sean Tatel in the chat. Make sure you guys go subscribe to Sean Tatel. Sean's already at like 28,000 subscribers. He by the time I get to 100,000, he's gonna be at 100,000. We're gonna celebrate the plaque together. So he's doing his thing. He's one of the best there is, and make sure you guys go support him, because supporting him is basically like supporting me. Like we're like that. So, but yeah, let me see who we got. Lamino is a subsidiary of Docomo. Correct. Thank you for the correction. Lamino is a subsidiary. NTT Docomo is where the money comes from. NTT Docomo is basically like T-Mobile. It's like T-Mobile in America, but in Japan. So that's the kind of money that's being put up to this fight. Like companies like that have money to just pour into this fight. So thank you for the correction. Yeah, no, every trainer goes through that. It's a trillion talent in these gyms. Not everyone gets a title shot. Exactly. Every trainer goes through losing, but I mean, they've never had a world champion. So it's like you're talking about 30 years training fighters, 2 world title shots, not winning those fights. This is big. I'm telling you that they're gonna fight. Jin is gonna fight with a lot of desperation and hunger. BT, if Jin loses, what do you think will happen? What do you think will happen to Jin? I think if Jin loses, I think Jin is still going to be one of the top welterweights in the division, and I think that the play will be to eventually line Jin Sasaki up with Sora Tanaka, who is on this undercard, who's fighting for the OBPF title. That'll be a good fight here in Japan and on the world level, because I do think that Tanaka might be a contender. Will Angelo get a fight with Inoue in the future? That's all dependent upon Inoue. If he's the A side, he's the money man. All we can do is keep winning. All Angelo can do is keep winning and making his case stronger and stronger. It all depends on Inoue, and if Junto Nakatani doesn't beat the brakes off of him, because that's possible. Like he may fight Junto and lose, and who who knows, you know? But I hope so. I want him to win. I would like him to beat Junto and beat Merjan and beat all these guys, and you know that's the fight I want. But we're still some ways away from that. So we're just gonna focus on the task at hand, and the next task at hand, I'm not sure what it is, but I'm just happy that we Angelo defended the belt in Japan, because this is guys, this is a very hard place to win on the road. It's not even just here. Like if you're a foreign fighter and you're fighting on the road anywhere, it's hard to win. You know, it just is. So that's what it is. I'll be honest, that backstory may change some people's bets. I'll never bet against a Japanese fighter when their country is riding behind them. Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm not here to change nobody's perspective. I'm just here to cover the sport I love. But yeah, I mean, it's been a lifetime. I mean, they're not the only ones that have had a lifetime's worth of work. I mean, on the other side, to give you guys both sides, because I like both fighters. I know both teams. I like both fighters, and I like both teams. Brian Norman's dad was in fact, hold on, let me pull it up for you guys so you guys can see. Because I don't think a lot of people know that Brian Norman Jr.'s dad was actually a fighter. Like, they just think that Brian Norman Jr.'s dad is like Bill Haney or Teofimo Sr. Like, no, he's not like Bill Haney or Teofimo Sr. Like, no, he fought in the ring. He had a 30+ fight career to speak of, and you know, shit, he just fought a couple months ago against Greg Hackett. He came off like a 15-year layoff, and guess what? He won. So Brian Norman Jr.'s dad, he's not like a lot of these trainers. But I'll talk about their side of things, because I don't want to give you guys just the one side. I give you the whole scope, so you guys can be excited for this fight when it happens. And when it's over, you guys can go ahead and, you know, I'll do a live probably within a couple hours after the fight. So let me see. Let me see. Let me load. My computer keeps crashing for some reason. Let me see, a screen share. Put that screen share on. So we're gonna go to Brian Norman Sr. and his box rec, because I want y'all to see that like Brian Norman Sr. was actually a real fighter, like who put in like real work. He's not just some guy that you know, is a loudmouth, you know, coach or a dad. Like, nah, he really is different. Now look, this is Brian Norman Sr.'s box rec. So here he is, 18-11, 5 knockouts, a 29 fight career. Obviously not a pretty record, but like he said it himself in interviews, he's one of those guys that got exploited by the boxing game as the B side. But he fought a lot of names that you guys know. Like look at these names. He fought he fought Jean Pascal. He actually took Jean Pascal the distance when Jean Pascal was young. And we all know the kind of fighter Jean Pascal is, multiple time world champion. He also fought Fernando Guerrero, another tough guy. Got stopped by him. Aaron Rodriguez, another tough guy, got stopped by him. Dominic Wade, you know, another guy, got stopped by him. So, you know, he wasn't the talent, you know, he wasn't as good as his son. And I'm sure he'll probably tell you that. But, you know, all that experience that he gained going through a 29 fight career is invaluable. And it's what made him it's what makes him a very good trainer, because it's very hard to develop a fighter from the ground up. There's a lot of guys that can't develop a fighter from the ground up and make him a champion. He did it. And so you think that Brian Norman Sr., with all the things he went through in his career, you think that he just wants to give all this up? No, like, no, they worked hard for this, coming from Georgia, coming from a place that's not a boxing hotbed, where they weren't getting funding. And, you know, here we are. Here we are. Let me see. I can't wait to tune in for this fight. Hold on. I already read that comment. Let me see. Hyro said, yeah, we know Jean Pascal for getting the show by Kovalev twice. Jean Pascal was a really good fighter. Are there any other fighters on the undercard we should keep an eye out for? You know what? Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the undercard. Let me pull up the undercard right quick, because I want to talk about that. There's actually quite a lot of fighters you guys should keep an eye out for on the undercard. This is one of them cards that's actually just really good top to bottom. So we'll get into that. Let me pull the show up, the card. Make sure you guys smash that like button. I'm here. It's 5 in the morning. It's 5 in the morning here in Japan, and you know I'm not even tired. I'm on pure adrenaline right now. I didn't even have breakfast yet. I didn't drink coffee. I didn't drink soda. I didn't drink juice. I'm wide. I didn't drink tea. I'm wide the hell awake. So let me see. I got that there, and then so I got that, and then got the boxing card, and then what else? Oh, the rankings. I need the rankings. Okay, so because I need the rankings to explain the significance of these fights, because sometimes people don't understand a lot of the time why fights do and don't get made, because they don't look at the rankings. If you look at the rankings, it's very easy to understand why fights get made. Now, let's go to screen share. Let's go to screen share. Shout out to everybody here. We're almost 2 hours. I told you guys this might be a 3-hour live because that's how gassed I am for this card. You know, it's not many times I get this hype for a fight. But anyway, so this is the card. You know, I'll be there later on. So I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't really know anybody from these first 3 fights. Maybe they're good, maybe they're not. I don't know who Rando Hashi is. I don't know who Yuito Moriwaki is. I don't know those guys, but I know all the guys all the way up. So we'll start with Rhea Abbey versus Yuya Oku. Now, Rhea Abbey, many of us know Rhea Abbey because he was the guy that Bernardo Lopez fought right before Bernardo Lopez fought Angelo Leo. And Abby's a good fighter. Abbey, you know, former Japanese champion, world title challenger, WBO Asia Pacific champion, like, you know, fringe contender, elite Japanese level fighter. You know, he needs this win badly for his career because he's had a rough go of things as of late. You know, he won a fight after the Bernardo Lopez fight, and then he had a draw with Satoshi Shimizu, which I thought was complete bullshit because Shimizu didn't win that fight, but Shimizu is an Ohashi fighter, and guess what, guys? Politics exist in Japan too. So if a fighter has Ohashi or Honda behind them, they are more likely to have favoritism in a close fight. That's just how it goes, right? So, in my opinion, I thought he beat Shimizu, and they didn't give it to him. It was a draw. So now Abby comes into this fight. And by the way, Abby is a ranked fighter. Like, Abby is in the running for an Angelo Leo fight because Abby is the number 12 IBF featherweight contender. And guess what? You know, if Angelo can't get the champions at featherweight, it's very likely that his next fight is going to be a voluntary. So he'll be one of the guys in the running if he wins this fight. He's number 12, right? So a lot to fight for. If Abby wins this fight, he might get a world title shot next. That's very possible. Now, on the other side, you have a guy that I'm not quite as familiar with, but it's funny because the only reason I even know who this fighter is actually because of Angelo Leo. And you may say, why, BT, why is that? And the reason that is because when Angelo came out here to train for the Kameda fight, I told Angelo to go to Hachiochi Nakaya boxing gym, and he didn't listen to me at first. And then he went to this gym called Kaneko Boxing Gym. And, you know, there were some incidents that happened in that gym with Kameda's people. And Angelo got a wake-up call real quickly that he needs to listen to what I'm telling him. And then he eventually listened, and then he trained fine at Hachiochi and then in Osaka. And then we won and defended the belt, and the rest is history. But while he was there, he met Yuya Oku, and he was telling me about him. And he was telling me he's a good fighter. So I watched him a little bit, and he's a solid fighter. He can punch a little bit. Yuya is not as proven on the Japanese level as Rhea Abbey, but he can punch. And this is his real, true step-up fight, because now he's fighting in his first. It's his first 10-rounder. He's fighting in a fight against a former world title challenger, Japanese champion, OBPF champion, or Asia Pacific champion. And it's that classic matchup of the boxer versus the puncher. So this is actually a fight I'm really excited about because Yuya Oku could wind up becoming a ranked fighter off this win. If Abby wins, Rhea Abbey becomes one, in my opinion, just what I believe. I think he becomes a front runner for a potential Angelo Leo voluntary defense. So that's what's at stake. Good fight. Like that fight a lot. Now, the other fight on the card that I think people need to watch out for, especially for everybody out there in the world who likes the welterweight division, because, you know, Jin Sasaki is trying to become the first Japanese welterweight champion. But there is a possibility that if Jin Sasaki doesn't win today, that this guy right here could actually become the first Japanese welterweight champion in the coming years. And he's arguably the most exciting young fighter in boxing. Very, very hard puncher. They call him the Mike Tyson of Yokohama because he's very short and he's very compact. And thus far in his career, it has been smooth sailing for Sora Tanaka. You know, it's 3-0, 3 knockouts. But on this fight, he's fighting a fighter by the name of Takuru Kobata for the vacant OBPF welterweight title. Now, I don't know a lot about Takuru Kobata. I'm not going to lie and cap to you guys, but let me see. Who has he fought? Now, Takuru fought Keita Obara a couple years ago and got knocked out by him. And then he also fought Shoki Sakai, who Jin Sasaki fought, lost to him. So look, this guy clearly is not a high-level Japanese fighter. You know, you can look at his box record and see that. So this is a fight that clearly Sora Tanaka should win and win handily. And truth be told, you got to give some credit to Ohashi Boxing Gym because this fight probably shouldn't even be an OBPF title fight. Like I think it's kind of bullshit that he's getting this caliber of opposition for an OBPF title fight. But what it means when I look at the matchmaking, what it means to me is that his handlers believe in him. They see certain things in the gym and they're getting aggressive to get him this title so that if he wins it, he'll get ranked a little quicker and can fight in more meaningful fights on the world level. Now, he needs rounds. He's had 3 fights, only boxed 7 rounds. So I'm hoping this fight can go rounds. I mean, he fought in a 6-rounder, but like he hasn't gone past the 4th round. So I think more than anything, Sora Tanaka needs rounds so that we can know more of what he is. But I do think at some point in the future, they're going to match this guy up with Jin Sasaki. And I'm telling y'all right now, that's going to be another fight. That's going to be another one of them fights just like this one that I get excited about because that's 2 explosive, you know, all action fighters, like real big time punchers. Because this dude can crack. I'm telling y'all, if y'all never seen this dude highlights, just go pull up, pick any fight you want, and you'll see what I'm talking about. So you got him, and then coincidentally, the fight that I get asked about the most in this card is actually a co-main event. It's actually the fight I paid the least attention to because, you know, I've just been sidetracked with Jin Sasaki and Brian, but Christian Arnetta, I've been hearing about him for a long time. He's now going to find himself in a weight class because he's fighting for the vacant IBF light flyweight title. Now, gone are the days of Ken Shiro. You know, Ken Shiro is not really in this weight class. Listen, Christian Arnetta is fighting for the title. You know, he's trying to become the 3rd active Filipino champion in boxing. Arnetta is a massive monstrous puncher. You know, 20 knockouts in 27 fights. You know, he did lose to Nochinga, so he has fought some guys. He lost to Daniel Valdivera, so this is probably his best chance to win a title. He's taking on Simsiri, who's, you know, a dangerous fighter in his own right. But I think for Arnetta, man, I think if you're looking at what could be like the next big fight at light flyweight, just kind of looking ahead, there's a fight coming up between the WBA champion Eric Mini Pac-Man Rosa from the Dominican Republic. He's taking on the #1 contender Kyosuke Takami, and Kyosuke Takami is a beast. Like, the dude can fight his ass off. If Arnetta gets his hands on the belt and Takami beats Eric Rosa, I think Christian Arnetta versus Kyosuke Takami actually becomes the biggest fight you could make in the light flyweight division. So that's when I look at this fight, I'm kind of looking at this fight as a journey to that fight. You know, a lot of you guys ask me like, what do I think would be an exciting fight? I think Arnetta versus Takami, Japan versus Philippines unification fight. That's an exciting fight. So overall, look, it's a really strong card, and I'm sure I'm gonna learn more about these fighters as time goes on. But yeah, that's my take. That's my impression on the undercard. Let me see. We got is Hideki Ohashi becoming the Don King of the lower weight classes after Inoue retires? What do you think, BT? Is he becoming the Don King? I mean, he's always kind of like the Don King of the lower weight classes. I mean, they have a lot of money to offer guys down there, and you know, a lot of these weight classes in the lighter categories is Japanese fighters have a big presence, you know, big time presence. Let me see. It kind of sucks that Top Rank is giving us the last 3 fights, I believe. Yeah, and then I was reading that apparently Bob Arum says that they're gonna have their own like platform and do their fights on there. So I'm curious if that's true. I'm curious to see like how that works out. TCP says, I have much respect for boxers. I can barely survive the training, and I haven't even taken punches to the face yet. It's tough. It's tough. I haven't sparred in about, let me see, I haven't sparred in well over a year, but I mean, sparring is hard. If you think you're a badass, if you think like you know about boxing, just go spar anybody who halfway knows what they're doing, and you'll get humbled real fast, and you'll realize what boxing is truly about, you know. So yeah, there's that. Shout out to SM03 with the 199 euro super chat. He says, and thank you for that, I put 30 on Norman by KO. Okay, a lot of people believe in the country strong Brian Norman Jr., the fighting pride of Atlanta. Verse Lee is disgruntled. He says ESPN is charging 100 for plus, and we won't even have boxing anymore. Yeah, sign of the times, man. I really don't know what's going to become of boxing in America. I think it's a big critical blow to boxing in the States that, you know, there's not going to be any boxing on ESPN. The ESPN platform has done wonders for like a lot of fighters, even some of the modern day fighters like Lomachenko, Crawford, Inoue. These guys have all benefited a lot from the ESPN platform. BT, I think Top Rank having their own app makes sense because this is the last Top Rank branded international card. They're probably going to have international cards. Yeah, probably. They're probably going to have international cards, and I'm sure they have a good plan. You know, Top Rank didn't survive this long not having a plan. Hell yeah, sparring is the truth, and it's something you must keep doing. If you take a break, yeah, exactly. Like you can't stop and go and stop and go. Like me, I haven't sparred in a year and a half. So if I sparred, whoever I sparred, no matter, I'd be cooked. I'd be cooked. I had to spar a couple times to get into like real boxing shape, because there's being in shape, which is like you're in good physical condition, and then there's being in boxing shape, which is like having the ability to spar, you know, 4, 6, 8 rounds. The best shape I was ever in my entire life was in 2019. I remember me and my girlfriend broke up and I was mad at the world. So all I was doing was just training and going to the gym and sparring, and I was in dog shape. I think the most I could spar, I think I sparred one time, I sparred like 9 rounds. I won 9 rounds. There's no way in hell I could go 9 rounds. No, I'd be lucky if I won 3, but you know, a couple of years ago I could do 9. But yeah, shout out to everybody here. Make sure you smash that like button. Definitely super chat. Definitely go ahead and subscribe. We're here. It is fight day for Brian Norman Jr. and Jin Sasaki, the most explosive matchup in the welterweight division. Put the AC on for this. It's hot in here. Put the AC on. But yeah, it's a beautiful day, man. You know, beautiful day for the sport. But yeah, you gotta keep sparring. Anybody who's out there, if anybody who's out there, you know, if you're a young fighter, you know, you're trying to compete, make sure you stay in the gym as much as I know it's cliche, but stay in the gym. Keep sparring. Yeah, the card is 12 hours away. Yep, it definitely is. Hyro says not enough to fight. Hyro, I'll beat the brakes off you even now being out of shape. Calm down, champ. You don't want that smoke. Let me see. Keep saying to you Americans, when Bob Arum passes, Jake Paul and new faces are gonna be fighting over the market. Yeah, I think Jake Paul's doing a great job, man. He's pretty much cornered women's boxing, and he's even managed to sell out the Garden with women's fight, which is unheard of. At first, like, I was very skeptical of Jake Paul, but he's been in the boxing game long enough now and has shown himself to be his company. The people he's hired have been competent, and they're actually like a legitimate, proper promotional company. So shout out to MVP. They just signed what's that girl's name? What's that girl's name? Han? What's that girl's name? Han. Not Jennifer Han, but her sister. She's fine too. I forgot her name. Stephanie Han. I think it's Stephanie Han. They get signed her. So shout out to MVP. What are my thoughts on Andy Hiroka versus Russell? I want them to really and truthfully, I would like them to make that fight as soon as possible. That's again, you got another fight between an American versus a Japanese fighter, which are, like, think about it, guys. A lot of these USA versus Japan matchups are starting to become some of the best, most explosive fights in the sport. So it's that one. What do I think about it? I think it's a very good style matchup because you got Gary Anton Russell, who's a volume puncher, who likes to put a high output of punches together, versus a guy who's a mid-range, long-range sniper, and Hiroka, who's very athletic out of the southpaw stance. So it's a great matchup. I would favor Hiroka, but it's an incredible matchup. Did y'all see Norman and Jin's weigh-in? It looks like Norman needs to move up to 154. The dude did not look good. Yeah, a lot of people have been telling me that Norman looks sunken in. I think he did look a little bit dry, but look, if they felt he can make this weight properly, then that's on them. I'll tell you this though: if Brian Norman Jr. is weight drained at all, like in any way, shape, or form, then that's gonna make his punch resistance go down, because when a fighter is weight drained, you basically have fluid around your brain, right? So this fluid around your brain is what gives, one of the many things that gives a fighter punch resistance. When you're weight drained, you lose that fluid around your brain, and you become easier to get knocked out, more susceptible to get knocked out. So that's what it is. We got True Power Media in the building. He says, salute the True School from H-Town, Texas. Shout out to H-Town. BOK, OTX, Pro Box, who else? I mean, you got them. You got Zufa Boxing entering the chat. Like, it's crazy because there's a lot of competition in the boxing marketplace right now. So I think it's good. Like, I think competition is good. You always want to have good competition in the marketplace, because that will force the promoters to make good fights. If not, then monopolies are not good for boxing. Like, they're not good for boxing. That's one of the things about, like, people always think like that I like everything about Japanese boxing, and that's not true, because one of the things that about boxing in Japan that I kind of wish was different was just more. I would like for some of the small promoters to have a bigger say in what goes on in Japan, because I feel like Honda and Ohashi have too much control. But that's my opinion. I'm talking from the American free market capitalist perspective. They don't think that way. It works for them. It's produced plenty of really good fighters. So I guess keep doing it. But that's me. Keep up the amazing work, my brother. God bless. God bless you, champ. Thank you for all the kind words and all the support. Let me see. Do I have my coffee? I think I still have coffee in the fridge. Let me see if I got coffee in the fridge. But yeah, we here from the luxury True School penthouse estate here in Yokohama, Kanagawa, in Japan. I'm in the streets of the monster. Let me see. I still got coffee here. Look, if y'all want to know what Japanese coffee looks like, boom. And coincidentally, the name of the coffee is called Georgia. So shout out to Brian Norman Jr. But I'm not a coffee guy, and this coffee, I've had this coffee probably like 5 days now, so I don't know if it's still good or whatever. But coffee. I don't think coffee expires. There's no milk in here, so we'll have some coffee. Coffee with True School. BT, do you know about the new British company GBM Sports? Yeah, I do. I've heard of them, but I'm not gonna act like I know a bunch about them. But I've heard the name. Have I ever had the NOA cakes? Funny story. So when I was with Angelo Leo in training camp, and we were in the same camp house. We were in Tokyo. In the camp house, the sparring partners actually had the NOA cakes in the fridge. So yeah, I had plenty of the NOA cakes. The cakes that NOA was eating before the Cardenas fight, I had it. It's actually really good. It's phenomenal. Which next major Japanese fight are you excited about? Well, the next major Japanese fight isn't until July 30th when Kenshiro takes on Ricardo Sandoval. So I mean, anytime Kenshiro's in the ring, I'm excited about that. Kenshiro is one of my favorite fighters of all time. Oh, there you go. That's good. What were they called? I don't remember what they were called. I just know that they come in a square package, and when you take them out the square package, the bottom of the cake has like this little plastic, and you have to rip the plastic off the bottom of each piece before you eat it. So yeah. GBM has been around for a little bit. They used to be on Talk Sport Radio boxing page. They migrated to the Zone. Most of their shows have been up north around Sheffield. Okay, so there you go, Sheffield, Steel City. Shout out to them. And see, Afro Jams put me on game because it's crazy. Like whether it's UK, Japan, Jamaica, Canada, South Florida, wherever in the world, there's always these little small promotional companies, and these little small promotional companies all around the world, they have their role. They have value. So, if you would would you rather watch the fight you're going to now or the Kenshiro fight today? Even though Kenshiro is my favorite, one of my favorite fighters in the history of boxing, this is a much better fight than Kenshiro versus Ricardo Sandoval. Ricardo Sandoval versus Kenshiro it's a solid fight. But it ain't this fight. This is one of them fights. Like this is an actual fight. Like, and it's like there's so much really intriguing storylines going in, and then you got the fact that Norman has this boots thing and trying to become a bigger star in boxing. You got Jin trying to become the first Japanese champion in welterweight history. I mean, this fight for sure. Japanese promoters gained so much because of the decline. So much paper. I don't know what you're trying to say there. Because of the decline in Thai, Pinoy, and South African boxing. Yeah, all those countries which were once very strong have been, significantly weaker over the years. And Japan is like super strong, so it makes sense. Everybody has their every dog has their day. The Florida Panthers were bad for a long time. Now the Florida Panthers is the best team in American sports, the back-to-back Stanley Cup champions. So life goes in a cycle. Apparently it might be called a Castella. That's what it's called. That is what it's called. The NOA cake that he was eating before the Ramon Cardenas fight, and I've had it. It's amazing. It's called the Castella cake, and they come in these long square packages. Yup. How much is a ticket for tonight's fight? Sebastian asked. The ticket I got, I believe, was around, I think 11 or 12,000 yen. I can't remember if it was 11 or 12,000. We'll just say it's 12,000 for the sake of it being expensive. Like $82, $82, so around there. BT, can we watch the Charleston White fight on Friday? It's gonna do numbers. Hyro, I'm gonna tell you what I tell you all the time. I've said it. I'm tired of repeating it. I'm not focused on anything past Brian Norman and Jin Sasaki. I'm not even focused on other storylines outside of boxing other than this fight. Maybe we'll see. I don't know. I'm focused on today. Focus on today because tomorrow has enough troubles of its own. That's universal truth. That's biblical truth. Like, focus on today because tomorrow has enough troubles on its own. We don't need to worry about Friday. We got Thursday. Yeah, it might have been cheaper. I'm not sure how much it was because I had to have my Japanese friend buy it for me because it was hard to do through like my computer. So I had him do it for me, and So yeah, I think it's like $82. It might even be cheaper though. Who the hell want to watch Charleston White fight? I'll watch it. Have I talked with the Japanese press about this Jin fight? No, I haven't really talked about I haven't talked to the Japanese press about the Jin Sasaki fight. I was in front of a lot of the Japanese press at the media workouts. Nobody asked me. If somebody would have asked me, I would have happily talked to anybody about it, but nobody's asked me. So yeah, no, I haven't. I'd like to though. If anybody asks me and they can speak English or we can get an interpreter, I'd love to talk to the Japanese press. Am I wrong to say Brian Norman is the second best fighter to come from Atlanta? That's a good question. I mean, I know you got Holyfield. I don't really know too many fighters outside of Holyfield, so you might be onto something. Sasaki winning the world title will be good for boxing in the welterweight division. If Sasaki wins the world title, he's gonna be a money guy in this division. Ohashi and Mr. Honda are gonna pump so much money through Jin Sasaki. Is Charleston fighting a woman? No, he's fighting these others. He's fighting these weirdos with tattoos on their face that do weird shit. Named the Allen Boys. Is the YouTube boxing market big in Japan? Do they have a lot of boxing content creators? They do. They got a couple, three that I know off the top of my head. You've got Family Time. You got Family Time. You got Boxing and Boxing. You got this guy named Valentine who used to fight. You got him. You got A-Side Boxing. You got and then there's a ton of other channels that are in Japanese that I don't know. And then a lot of these fighters, like, believe it or not, a lot of these Japanese fighters have their own YouTube channels. Like Jin Sasaki has his own YouTube channel. Rhea Abbey has his own YouTube channel. Kenshiro doesn't really run it anymore, but he had his own YouTube channel. Like, so Japanese YouTube boxing market is massive. Yeah, I've always said, like, I'm open to collaborating with anybody, but I'm not gonna go chasing people. Have I gone to the Winning Boxing Factory yet? No, I have not. Would you think Jin Sasaki fights in the U.S.? Perhaps Ohashi and Top Rank relationship. I really think that Jin Sasaki should fight in the U.S. Like, if he does upset Brian Norman Jr., obviously fight in Japan because your market is here, your target audience is here. But I really think, guys, I honestly think Jin Sasaki would go over better in the States than any Japanese fighter there is. His style, the way he dresses, his energy, this is the way he is. Like, him being a welterweight, I think he'd go over very well in the States. Who would he fight? That's a good question. If Jin were to fight in the States, I think the fight I would like to see him in is against Ricardo Salas, a Mexican welterweight. Mexico versus Japan and America. That does good business. That makes sense. Jin versus Ricardo Salas, Jin versus Alexis Rocha, And the thing about Alexis Rocha is I've talked to Alexis Rocha in the past. I interviewed Alexis Rocha last year when I was in California. I think it was like March of last year when I was in California. He said he would love to fight Jin Sasaki. And Rocha's one of those no-nonsense, like, real blue-collar fighters. He don't get the most talent, but he'll fight people, I wish Inoue came to the U.S. and made a fight card with Jin as a comment. They should do that. They should definitely do that. Do that. Tiger Flowers was a great fighter from the early 1900s who ended Harry Grapp's career. See, there's so many fighters in the history of boxing, and you know, I do know a little bit of box history, but that's going way back. When you start getting like Harry Greb and them guys, that's, you know, I gotta do more research on that era. But I've heard the name Tiger Flowers. I know, obviously everyone knows, anybody who's read like the boxing encyclopedia knows Harry Greb's name, because he won all those titles in all the weight classes. So yeah, shout out to Harry Greb. Vernon Forrest was from Augusta but lived in ATL. So what do you guys think? I don't think Brian Norman has surpassed Vernon Forrest. Yeah, he's got more work to surpass the late Vernon Forrest. But Vernon Forrest was the truth. Next fight for this year, BT prediction. Ramon Cardenas. How about that? How about that one? What do you think happens if Junta moves up to 126 to fight Espinosa? Now, good question. Now, I don't think he's going up to 126. I think that's just Rudy Hernandez talking. I don't think they'll fight Rafael Espinosa. But what I learned in that Nishida fight is, even though Junta Nakatani is strong at bantamweight, he does not yet have the physical strength, I think, to deal with the guys at featherweight. So right now, if that were to happen, I would pick Rafael Espinosa to beat Junta Nakatani. I think so. I think Espinosa will beat him. Now, if he does it properly, if he goes 122, then goes featherweight, he'd have a higher chance, but I would still favor Espinosa. But right now, it's a great fight. It's a fun fight, but I think Espinosa will break him down and stop him if they fight. He needs to get a little stronger before he comes to featherweight. All right, so right now, guys, we're at like 2 minutes and 2 hours and 21 minutes. So we're gonna go 9 more minutes. We'll go 2.5 hours, and then I'll end the live. But get your questions in. We're here, the untouchable True School Sports Empire, the day of Brian Norman Jr. versus Jin Sasaki. By the way, guys, there's still gonna be more content. There's still gonna be like more content, more exclusive content you can't get nowhere else. Because when I go to these fights, whether I be in America or especially here in Japan, where, you know, Top Rank only gives you guys but so much exposure and so much content, I try to make you guys feel like you're here in Japan with me. So hopefully I've achieved that, and I'm achieving that. You do a great job. Awesome channel. Amazing how you're in Japan. What is your opinion and prediction for tonight's fight versus Norman and Sasaki? Okay, DGF. Thank you for your kind words, and thank you for the support. And it's great to be here in Japan, and it's great to have you watching the channel. If you go back and you rewind, I gave a pretty thorough breakdown. But my prediction for the fight is Brian Norman Jr. TKO 7, and I think each fighter is getting dropped. Norman makes too many defensive lapses with his head on the center line. I think at some point he's going to get caught with the left hook, and I think in this fight he will have to show something to stop Jin. Now, I could be wrong. He might run right through Jin, or Jin might run right through him. But I don't think it'll be that kind of fight. I think both guys are going to exchange a knockdown apiece, and then he'll grind it out. And in the end, his fundamentals, his strength, his skill will be the difference. But nothing will like other than a boring fight, no outcome would surprise me. Bob Arum is there in Japan. Would you try to interview him and put in a word about you and the promoters in Japan? I mean, I can, but I mean, if I interview Bob, I'm just gonna interview Bob. I'm not gonna get him involved in Japanese boxing politics. I'm just gonna do my job. Nishida versus Shimamachi at 122, number 5. I think Nishida beat Shimamachi. Like, see, Shimamachi is an example of what I'm talking about. A lot of people say that I think every Japanese fighter is great, which is not true at all, because there's some guys that I think are just straight up mid, regular, pedestrian, like guys that are solid, guys that are good enough to be contenders, but fighters that are not gonna threaten the pound list. And to me, Taishiki Shimamachi is the definition of that. You know, good fighter, solid, but not no otherworldly talent. I think Nishida could beat him, especially if Nishida's rehydrated, strong at 122. Or he'll beat Shimamachi. Thoughts on Munguia's B sample? Not a good look. 100% Jaime Munguia is what. Listen, Jaime Munguia is who I told you he got. Who I told you what he was. Told you guys for years that Munguia was a fraud and one of the most manufactured fighters in boxing, and been proven true. You know, I don't hate fighters. I just tell you guys the truth. Sometimes you guys don't like it. Sometimes you guys do like it. Sometimes you, like we had a dude here earlier saying that I just dick ride Japanese fighters, but I just tell y'all the truth. That's why I get criticized from every fan base of every nationality in boxing. I don't give a damn where somebody's from, unless it's a fighter from South Florida. You know, I don't really care like where somebody's from. If you can fight, you can fight. Only fighters you can accuse me of being biased for are people that are from South Florida. The first 5 rounds will be a barn burner, and after that, I think Norman's body work will help him. You know, that's possible, but you know, I didn't mention this earlier, but I'll mention it now. I actually think that's somewhere where Jin Sasaki might have an edge. Jin Sasaki is actually a very good body puncher. Left hook to the body is money, and that's going to be a very key punch for him. So I'm actually very intrigued to see who wins the battle of body work because Brian Norman can definitely punch to the body. He's definitely very strong. I've stood 10 feet from the heavy bag when he hits it, and I've watched him fight plenty of times. He can punch to the body as well. So that's another thing to look out for, you know. Thank you for all your hard work. We do appreciate it. Thank you, and I appreciate you guys. That's why I'm here shooting up at the mouth, you know, 2.5 hours on, you know, look, the sun. I've literally been sitting here and I watched it was dark when the live started. Look, when the live started, it was dark. Like it was pitch black outside. Now, as you guys can see the view from the luxury True School penthouse estate, you know, now the sun is coming up in the land of the rising sun. The sun is risen. So yeah, that's what it is. In your opinion, can Brian Norman be a star? Can Bob Arum promote him to that level? A lot of that is dependent upon if Brian Norman Jr. comes out victorious today. That being said, Brian Norman Jr. to me is one of the easiest guys to make a star that Bob Arum has had in a long time, because Brian Norman Jr. is extremely charismatic, has a great personality. He's great with the media. He's very gracious with his time. He does all the right things outside the ring, you know, to be a star. So I think just as long as he keeps getting better and winning, this like he can become that. I really think that. True, always being true. Thank you, bro. We try to be honest and have integrity here. Thank you. Bob Arum doesn't rob Tom Rank these days. We all know it's Todd the Buff. That's true. Bob Arum really isn't as involved as he used to be because he's older and doesn't have that level of energy anymore. But yeah. Does Edgar Berlanga represent Puerto Rico well in your opinion? Not really. Like Edgar Berlanga, he's a very polarizing figure. So when you ask that question, for a guy to represent somewhere well, he has to be universally liked and supported. And Edgar Berlanga is not universally liked or supported in, you know, anywhere in boxing except probably New York. So that being said, the answer right now is no. Could he be that one day? Yes. But right now he's not. Yeah, Randall. I mean, I agree with you. I agree that it's possible that that Brian could end it early because of Jin's head movement. But if Brian Norman Jr. doesn't work on getting his head up the line and gets caught on a left hook, the same statement applies to him. And that's why the fight is so good. That is why I'm here. That's why I stayed in Japan an extra 3.5, basically a month. I was supposed to go back home to America right after Angelo fought, and I stayed just for this fight. I literally stayed an extra month in Japan just for this fight. True School Sports up early like it's Christmas. Seeing good fights live is electric. It is. It really is. Like, and you can't describe it. How long are you planning on staying in Japan? Will we see a vlog of the fight? I'm gonna leave Japan within a week of this fight. So within the next week, I should be leaving Japan. So not much longer left now. I do have a life back in America and things to tend to, and family and friends, and you know, eventually, you know, Angelo Leo's gonna start training camp for the next fight. Whoever that's against, I don't know, but like he's gonna start camp, so I gotta help the champ, be an asset to him any way I can. So I have to get back to the States, but yeah, about another week. And as far as a vlog, you will not get a vlog from the fight because they're gonna be surveillancing me when I go to the fight because Ohashi Gym. They wanted to arrest me the other day at the Brian Norman media workout because they said I was trespassing, even though Brian Norman Sr.'s dad told them that I was with them and I was okay. So that being said, you know, like I won't vlog because they're gonna have a lot of eyes on me when I'm there. So they say, and I'm not gonna take any chances going to jail in Japan, but you know, you will get a post-fight review video from me outside the arena after the fight. That much I can say. And I do have an interview coming up with I'm not sure yet. I don't even want to say who it is, but I might have an interview with one of Jin Sasaki's ex-opponents, before the fight dropping. So I got to meet him at the arena. Am I talking too much about Inoue and his team? Maybe that's why. No, that's not it. That's not it. Because even before I said anything, they were on some bullshit regardless. So I don't care. It is what it is, man. Like, there's enough Japanese fighters that I know. You know, I don't need to. I can still get interviews with people in Japan. The Japanese may think you're a spy for the American camps. I mean, well, they're spying on Brian Norman Jr. They got a camera right above the ring at Ohashi Gym. So I mean, I'm not a spy for nobody. BT, what do you think of this matchup between Angelo Leo and Rai Shalim? How much of a threat is Alim? Good fight. Alim's a solid fighter. I know they fought a lot of rounds back in the day, so there's a lot of familiarity. And when you get two fighters that have a lot of familiarity, those are always tricky fights. I think Alim would be very durable. I think he'd be good. I don't think Angelo would stop him, but I think Angelo would win. I think Angelo would win that fight. I think Angelo wins that fight by decision. Do you think you don't get the Inoue interview because? Do you think you don't get the Inoue interview because? Oh, it's because of the people at the gym. I don't think because funny story. Look, I'll tell you guys this. I went to go see Brian Norman Jr. I went to go see Brian Norman Jr. I think two times. I saw him 2 times at night. So before I saw Brian Norman Jr. 3 times in total. Twice at night, and then once on the day of the media workout. The second time I went there at night, I saw Inoue. I walked right by Inoue in the gym and didn't even realize it until I walked by him. He was doing sit-ups on the mat. But I didn't talk to him out of respect to him and his training and just being allowed in the gym. I didn't want to be disrespectful, so I didn't even try to talk to Inoue when I was there. But I saw him like it was no big deal. So I assume you're officially an Inoue hater. Absolutely not. Naoya Inoue is one of my favorite fighters of all time, and he's a beast. Why would I hate him? What did I do for them to hate me so much? I'm not talking about it. No BS. I'm gonna start paying attention to them Japanese fighters like Hiroka. Hiroka's a beast. Hiroka's a real beast, man. I like Andy Hiroka. I just subscribed. You dropped some gems with the camera above the gym. That's why. Yeah, I mean, like, and I even talked to like Brian Norman Sr. about it, and he's not like a lot of people ask why are the Normans training at Ohashi Gym? And I don't know. There's many theories I could give. I don't really know the real answer to that question, but it don't bother Brian Norman Sr. Not at all. I talked to him about it. He's not bothered by it. But yeah, like literally right above the ring, there's a fucking camera. It's crazy. Do you have a good view from the window? I want to see Japan so bad. I hear people say the streets are nice. I do. Sure, you're not a spy, BT. We know we don't need a spy in a way to beat him. What I gotta spy him for? He fights the same way. He fights damn near the same way every fight. Like, we need a spy in a way. Bro, talk about it. It's bullshit to treating you this way. Long story short, they got all mad because when I came here last time, I got access to the back and I filmed a 10-second recording of Naoya Inoue walking by me. And basically, when he walked by me, it's a 10-second clip of him walking by me. I put it on my YouTube shorts and I put it on Instagram. And I guess somebody saw it and they got mad. And one of the guys from Tekken Promotions got all mad about it and tried to press me at Corkin Hall 2 days after the fight. And we almost got into a physical altercation at Corkin Hall 2 days after the Inoue Yi Jun Kim fight. And then I've tried to correct the situation many times with this guy from Tekken Promotions, and he doesn't want to talk to me. And he keeps sending people to come talk to me, but he doesn't want to talk to me. So that's the issue. There's literally an issue because of a 10-second video of me, a video of Inoue walking by me on YouTube. And the reason this is an issue is because in Japan, you're not supposed to do that, apparently. And I violated a rule, which I didn't know I was violating. Otherwise, I wouldn't have did it. And whatchamacallit. And that was it. Like, they said that Japanese TV companies were going to sue me and this kind of thing. So that's what it is. And they and now they're saying that, like, you know, like they told me that if I were, because I was gonna go to the press conference. I knew exactly where it was at. I knew exactly where the press conference was at. I know the hotel it was at. I knew the time it was at. I was gonna go, but they said if I show up to any of the fight week stuff, that they were gonna report me to the police for trespassing. So that's what it is, man. But God bless them. I got no issues with it. I still love Inoue. You know, it doesn't affect how I see him as a fighter. But yeah, I'll be there today. And it's because you're Team Leo, bro. Well, you know what? Today I'm gonna wear my Angelo Leo fight. I'm wearing my Angelo Leo T-shirt to the fight. So, you know, if they see me, they'll see Angelo Leo. They said, no, I've tried to sit down and talk to them. They literally won't talk to me at all. Like, they won't talk to me. They won't sit down. Like, even if I get an interpreter, they don't have no interest in trying to speak to me and trying to understand where I'm coming from. So it just is what it is. I understand Japanese culture. That's why I'm not mad about it, because I understand that. You got to understand about Japan. 98% of the Japanese population is Japanese people. You know, it's a homogenous culture. So there's not a lot of people that look like me in Japan. Factor in that, you know, I don't speak fluent Japanese, so there's a language barrier, and there's just a lot of reasons why I would see I can see their side of it. You know, I'm not mad about it. I used to get mad about it, but it's what it is. It seems like they're giving you a hard time in Japan. They are, but, you know, hey, God bless them. I show them grace, love them, and you know, I look forward to seeing them today at the fights. What's my relationship with Angelo Leo? He's a great friend of mine, and, you know, I don't have an official title, but if I had to give myself a title, I would say I'm like a liaison. Like, anything he needs as far as boxing goes, sparring partners, organizing a training camp, film study, booking a bullet train ticket, distributing tickets the day of the fight, like anything he asked me to do, I will do anything in my power to make his life easier, to give him the best chance to win. That's about it. A lot of Japanese box people want to corner off the market for Japanese people only. It's so difficult to watch fights overseas. They constantly shoot themselves in the foot. And there you go. That's Talkers. Talkers is known on Twitter for being a guy that follows Japanese boxing, even sometimes closer than I do. Many times closer than I do. So he's telling you guys that's a guy that knows. And part of what he said, it's difficult to watch fights overseas. That's part of the reason why I started covering Japanese boxing, because I didn't know who Shinsuke Yamanaka was, and it was hard to access Japanese fights in America. So, you know, it was very mysterious, and to me it was kind of cool. Like, oh, I was kind of uncovering this thing that nobody else was uncovering, and that's kind of why I got into it. But it is also part of the reason why it's not as, you know, bigger internationally, you know? Which Japanese fighter am I the closest to on a personal level? That's a good question. Let me think about that. Because, I mean, I know a couple of guys on a personal level. I know Ken Shiro. Like, I can get in contact with Kenshiro, Tsutsumi, Seigo. Let me see. I would say closest Japanese fighter. I'm gonna say either, because I know all of them, but like I wouldn't say like any of us are extremely close. Like we all have a respectable professional like I'm not. You're not supposed to be friends with fighters. You're not supposed to. But if I had I would probably say probably Jin Sasaki, or Seiya Tsutsumi. Probably those two. But like I wouldn't say that I'm insanely close to either one of those guys. Japanese boxing will be so much bigger as well. Ioka's team constantly rejected offers from English-speaking broadcasters to show us fights. There's multiple examples. Yeah, like they have their ways. It is what it is. I'm not here to argue. It's their way of doing things. I'm in their country. I respect their country, but you know, the Japanese are very racist. Yeah, I mean, hey, you said it, not me. Your girl's so big and popular, they can't ignore you. Oh, well, look, right? It's funny, right? Because look, when I came here in 2023, I came here because I wanted to try and interview Naoya Inoue. Now, have I interviewed Naoya Inoue to this day? No, I haven't. Do I really? Does it bother me like it used to? No, it does not. Have I had chances to actually talk to Inoue on multiple occasions? Yes, I have, but I chose to not to do it because it would cause a big disturbance. And I'm very respectful. I try to be as respectful as possible, even if I think it's like, if I have my own thoughts about the situation. But like, it's funny, right? Because they kicked me out the gym all these times thinking that, you know, I wasn't gonna get discouraged and stop. And I'm a very determined person. And of course, I walked back into the gym with an American world champions. That's funny how that works. They kicked me out the gym with Inoue, and I got in with Norman. I understand Japanese culture. They know how Americans are. We are doing a thing at start. I'm not trying to control. I respect their culture. I'm not trying to control anything. I love Japanese boxing. I love their culture. Like they have their way. I just want to cover the fights. I'm just here for the boxing. What Mexican fighters are you closest to personally? Mexican fighters. Like native Mexican fighters. You see. I'm not like super. I wouldn't say me and Rafael Espinosa are close, but I know his cousin very well. We're pretty cool. Him. I'm trying to think. Mexican fighters. Yeah, like it's not like guys. Like I know a lot of fighters. Like I have a very professional relationship with a lot of fighters. You're not really supposed to be friends with the fighters. It's only a couple of people that I'm like I can say I'm genuinely cool with. I can't think right now. There's this one female boxer. I'm trying to become friends with her. She's nice, but you know that's about it. The boxing outcome says people hype Inoue up. If he doesn't give you an interview before he retires, he isn't the people's champion. He's very guarded, you know, especially he's guarded from Japanese media. Like a lot of Japanese media can't even get an interview with him. And the crazy thing is what the irony of Inoue is that I saw him in the gym. It was me, him, and the Normans and a couple fighters in the gym and a trainer. We were all alone in the gym by ourselves. I could have went up to him and tried to talk to him, and I didn't do it just out of respect. Russian fighters are better and tougher than Japanese fighters, or you can say Eastern European fighters. They're very tough. They're very tough, but a lot of Russian, Eastern European fighters can't take body shots and don't know how to fight them inside. But they are very, very tough. I think I know which Mexican fighter chick you are talking about, Sebastian. A lot of you guys are saying it's Nisa Estrada. I used to have a crush on Nisa Estrada, and I was trying to get at her a couple years ago, but no, not Nisa. No, it's not Nisa. Plus, she's married. I don't I don't hit on I don't talk to married women. You know, I respect marriage. You know, I'm old school. I respect marriage. So if a girl's take is married, I don't speak to them. But no, this Mexican woman, she's not a known female boxer. She's like a journeyman. She's nice though. Why? We help these boxers become famous and have fame. That's crazy. Reach out to Carlos. I think he wants to fight in Japan. Yeah, I'll Ramon. I can get Ramon on the channel. I like Ramon. Ramon's a good fighter, good dude. I didn't get a chance to like interview him during his fight week, but I covered his fight and I enjoyed his fight. And his fight with Inoue was one of the more enjoyable fights I covered. So yeah, shout out to Cardenas. It's Sulem Urbina. Again, I love me some Sulem Urbina. She's nice. I like Sulem Urbina, but it's not her either, Harold. You don't even know her name. She's not known. Damn, I just realized I've been talking for like 15 minutes longer than I should. So look, we'll make it an even 3 hours. We're at the 2 hour and 45-minute mark. So we'll go an additional 15 minutes. We'll make it an even 3 hours. Why aren't you talking to John? Why aren't you talking about Johnny Beck? Are you tired of him? He's not fighting. He's not fighting right now. There's no fight scheduled. He's not fighting. There's no news, so that's why. But I like Johnny Beck, good fighter. I might know her name. You're saying no, it's not Right Hook Roxy. It's not a known female boxer. This girl literally has more losses than she has wins, but she's just really fun. Like she's Mexican girl, native Mexican girl, not Mexican American, native Mexican woman. Do you think that Inoue didn't like that you were there, or do you think he didn't care? I don't think he gave a damn. He said hello. Like he bowed. Like I made eye contact with him and I bowed, and that was about it. That was the extent of our interaction. Who do I got, Junto or Inoue? I don't follow the weight classes. So right now I'm leaning towards Inoue because the fight's at 122. But if Junto gets 2 more fights and if Junto gets even 1 fight where he goes rounds and it's 2 more fights, then I'm gonna go with Junto. Because I think Inoue is playing a dangerous game, letting Junto get 2 fights. We're playing guess the female boxer now. I'm telling you, you guys are not gonna get her name right. She's not known. She's not famous. She's not known. She's not a champion. She's not even a contender. I'm not even sure I'm not even sure she has a winning record. Let me see if she has a winning record. Let me go on Google and see if this girl even has a winning record. Let me see. What the hell is this girl's name? What record? She's literally like she barely has more wins than she does losses. Yeah, she's not no top tier upper echelon championship fighter. She hasn't even fought in a year and a half. She's coming off a long layoff. I say just give it some time. Once they cool down on the whole recording, altercation, you can try to calm things out. That's my plan. I'm just gonna keep doing my job and try to be respectful and don't talk bad about them and just be cool. And when I see them, be kind and that kind of thing. One thing you learn in boxing a lot of the time is people around the fighters that cause issues. I have legal evidence to prove it. Talkers is not lying. I'm not gonna say the fighters' names, but he sent me DMs of fighters from their teams of them threatening him over things he's tweeted on Twitter and taking legal action and all kinds of things. Have you ever been starstruck when you met a fighter? Not in years. I mean, I've been around it. I've been doing this for so long now that it hasn't happened in a while. But let me see. I think the last time I was probably starstruck around any fighter probably was when. Actually, you know what? It's funny. You know which fighter I was starstruck around? This guy's not even a star. This is how I know I'm different. Because the guys that nobody will get starstruck around, I will get starstruck around. Maybe not starstruck, but I got excited to meet him. Overly excited. Recently, I met the 5-time minimum weight champion Katsunori Takayama. I was really excited to meet him, but I wouldn't say I was starstruck. Let me see. Who was I starstruck to meet? Starstruck. Have I been starstruck? Maybe I'm gonna say one time, like back in 2016 when I went to the WBC convention, Floyd Mayweather walked in. I saw Floyd Mayweather, and so probably Floyd. I didn't talk to him, but he had the big old 6'8", 290-pound Great Wall of China security guards, and then yeah, that was an experience. Maybe him. BT was starstruck with Inoue while past him. Actually, I wasn't at all. Inoue is the strongest in Japan. His ability to attract fans is outstanding. If Inoue loses, Nakatani retires, Japanese boxing may decline. I don't think so. I think if he lost to Junto, we would just have another star. And a guy in Junto that could fight in higher weight classes against foreign opposition. So I don't think so. BT was also starstruck when he. Come on, man. I'm not even gonna say his name because we don't talk about other channels here. True School Sports, the A side. Who do you think Inoue fights in December since he's not fighting Nick Ball anymore and staying at 122? I don't know who he's gonna fight, but I'm on guard, man. He may try to come to featherweight and pick one of the champions. So I'm on guard that it might be Angelo, but I don't know. I don't know who he's gonna fight. He's merge on September. I'm not so sure he even fights in December. I think he might fight merge on, take a break. No matter what he says. I think the fight with MJ will show us if Inoue is truly having these defensive flaws, or if he just fights down levels of competition. Since a lot of people are overlooking Cardenas. Yeah, we'll see. We'll go ahead and see. I'm looking forward to it. You know, I think he does have. It's not so much defensive flaws. I mean, it is a flaw, but it's just like he's so confident in his offense. So it's to the point where he's arrogant. Like he'll just, he just doesn't clean certain things up. Yuta Sakai, Dai Akira, Tsutsumi brothers. Yep. And you got Sora Tanaka. Yeah, got a lot of guys. Sora Tanaka, Aoi Yokoyama, Kyosuke Takami, Yuga Osaki. Tons of top Japanese talent. BT, when you noticed Inoue was there chilling, were you surprised he was there? No, I wasn't, because I know what time he trains at. I know exactly what time he trains at. So, I expected him to be there, but it was cool to see him like there doing his thing. If Inoue picks Leo, war is about to break out. BT versus Ohashi. Yes. I'm declaring war on the whole sport of boxing if that fight happens. Whenever that fight happens, though, it's war. There will be no political talking on this channel if they fight. It's war. It would be BT versus Tekken. Oh, even better. I got stronger feelings towards them. BT, what are your thoughts on Jin's brother? I seen him at the gym hitting pads. I don't have any thoughts on him. I saw him hitting the pads. Seems like a nice young kid. Best of luck to him. How is his size outside of camp? Pause. Let me see. When I saw him, he looked like he was walking around like 180. See, he was definitely walking around 130 something. Say he was like probably 133. BT, is it true that Rikishi's brother is Ibuki? Yes, it's true. Masanori Rikishi's brother is Ibuki. That is correct. BT, salute BT from the 813. What the hell is that? 813 area code. Let's see, 813. From Tampa. Shout out to Tampa. Have I ever been to Tekken? Hell no. And I'm never going to Tekken, because a lot of the Tekken fighters who I've tried to talk to about for interviews in the past, they've always warned me to not go there. And then I know people from Tekken that don't like me, so I just don't go there. But it'd be nice to go one day. It would I would like to go. Why not? I watched one of your videos on my Twitch and people loved it. I was on Twitch. See, I never been on Twitch. I don't know how to use Twitch. I was on Twitch. Explain more. What video was on Twitch? I assume they have a different father since they have a different surname. Well, no, their names, like their names aren't their actual names. They named themselves after anime characters. Yabuki, like so Masamichi Yabuki, he named himself after Joe Yabuki from the famous Japanese anime Hashira no Joe. You know. Sebastian says, W stream. Brian Norman is from my area in Atlanta. I hope he wins tonight. If you get a chance, tell him that Decatur is proud of him. I'm pretty sure I'm going to see him after the fight, you know, because I know where they're staying, and I'm going to go there in that direction to try to get post-fight content. So regardless of how the fight plays out, Brian Norman has my respect. Hayato Tsutsumi is fighting Kwais Ashrafak on a random card in the middle of the night. In Japanese time is really bad for his growth. Awful fight and awful promotion. Yeah, I don't understand why they're pulling him back. Like I feel like Hayato Tsutsumi, like you don't gotta pull back with him. He's one of those guys where he's good enough to beat anybody at 130 right now. And I feel like they're babying a little bit now, which you know they don't need to do with him because he's the goods. BT, do we know for sure if Ball versus Goodman is at 126? I haven't seen it officially stated. Yes, it's gonna happen at 126 because there was a fight poster that came out because there's a card happening and Hergovich is fighting David Adelaide as well on that same card. There was a whole poster of all those matchups on there. Unless it was an incorrect poster and I got tricked. I know you like Rafa a lot. Are you going to go for Rafa if he fights Inoue? Listen, Naoya Inoue is my favorite fight. I know a lot of you guys don't believe me because the last year and a half, I've just been going off about how Inoue is wasting his time at 122, and I've talked about how I think Angelo's going to beat him. So a lot of people think I hate Inoue. But no, Inoue is one of my favorite fighters in boxing. As long as he's not fighting Angelo, I'm going to root for him. So, you know, respect. But I'm not going to lie to you, though. I like Rafa a lot, too. I've really grown to love Rafael Espinoza these last couple of years. He really conducts himself like a real champion. Like the way he treats the boxing fans. He's probably one of the best fighters in boxing at dealing with boxing fans at fights. And I've never seen him turn on a picture, never seen him turn on an autograph. I've seen him stay till 2 a.m. to take pictures with fans and sign autographs. So I got so much respect for how he conducts himself outside the ring, his fighting style, and what he brings to the game. So, I mean, I like them both, but, you know, Inoue is a very special part of my journey in boxing. So it's hard to root against him. How would you rank the champs at featherweight from strongest to weakest? So it is worth noting that Stephen Fulton is no longer in the weight class, so my rankings are going to be a little bit different now that he's not in there. So your 3 champions right now are Espinoza, Nick Ball, and Angelo Leo. My rankings would go as such, and they might be unpopular, but they're my rankings. Number 3, Nick Ball. Number 2, Rafael Espinoza. And number 3, Angelo Leo. That's what I think. You know? I reacted to your Aftermath Africa fight, and people on Twitch really liked it. Well, hey, shout out to everybody on Twitch. Tell everybody from Twitch to come through, and subscribe to the channel. BT is not picking against Inoue until Leo. That's not true. That's not true. I might pick Junto. I'm just waiting to see like what kind of fights he gets. Because a lot of my reasoning for who I'm going to pick in that fight is going to be dependent upon like what kind of matchmaking Junto has going into the fight and how those fights play out. If Junto can get a fight where he gets some rounds in, then I will lean towards Junto. If he keeps knocking everybody out in 6 rounds or less, I'm probably going to pick Inoue. He needs rounds. Who fights for Fulton's vacant WBC belt? I believe it's going to be Carlos Castro and Ray Vargas. Due to the influence of Ashita no Joe, boxing has become associated with the idea of dropping weight all the way down to the bantamweight class. This is correct. Weight cutting is a big part of that show from what I've known, from what I read. I never watched it because you can't. Ashita no Joe, you can't even access it in the States. I've tried. My man right here, Fact, says, thank you for always introducing Japanese boxing to the world. Shout out to Fact. And what logo is that? Is that a Jin Sasaki logo? Is that, hold on, let me see something. That's not gonna be his channel. That can't be his channel. That's not the Jin Sasaki channel. Is that Jin's channel? I doubt it, but let me see. I want to see. Let me click the account. I want to see if that's who. Thank you for Japan for shout out to the Japanese in Japan for giving me a lot of things to talk about and a lot of unforgettable fights and a lot of unforgettable nights. You know, it's a real treat covering Japanese boxing and the fighters on the prospect level, the contender level, and definitely the champions. So yeah, shout out to you. And no, that is not Jin Sasaki's channel. It's just a guy from Japan. Thank you so much. Thank you. Brian Norman, BT. Brian Norman is a plus 12,000 to win in rounds 1 to 3. That's the bet. Brian Norman Sr. said rounds 1 to 3. Okay, so that means Brian Norman Jr. is going to come out strong. We'll see. I like Brian Norman rounds 5 through 7 a lot more. Inoue beats Nakatani. What would you rank him all time if he retires and beats Nakatani? It's hard to say because there's so many fighters in boxing, but I'll just say, in my lifetime as a boxing fan, if he beats Nakatani, he's definitely one of the top 3 to 5 fighters of my lifetime watching boxing. He'd be right there with like Floyd and Manny Pacquiao and them kind of guys, and Roman Gonzalez and them kind of guys. Nick Ball isn't a weak champ. It's just that his matchmaking since he became champion is weak. He's been fighting nothing but straight like super bantamweights and blowing them up in weight. He's a good fighter. You know, all these. Listen, anybody who's a champion is a good fighter. You know, I don't, because I know I've seen what Angelos had to go through on 2 occasions to become world champion. So I know better than most people what it takes to become world champion. And I've got other fighters who I won't name that I unofficially advise who are contenders in certain weight classes. And so I know how hard it is to get that belt. So respect to him. I just think featherweight's a really good weight class. And I think Rafael Espinoza with the kind of fighter he is and Angelo with the kind of fighter he is, these guys are just better than him. Now, obviously, Nick Ball can prove me wrong. You know, if he fights these guys and beats them and proves me wrong, that I got to change my stance and change my tune. But right now, I think he's the lesser of the champions. Now, a lot of people disagree with me. A lot of people told me after the Kameda fight, they said, BT, no, you're wrong. Your friend is the weakest champion, and that's okay. That's their opinion. Some people think Espinoza is the best. Some people think Angelo is the best. Some people think Ball is the best. But we don't know until these guys fight each other, you know? Jin might be too strong and tough and gets KO'd in 1 or 3. The Andy fight was early. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And he's going to be very anxious to make a statement, and that could be his undoing. So I can see that. Ball's matchmaking is more deliberate, in my opinion. Like Espinosa's matchmaking isn't great either, but it's less obvious. No, I mean they're all they're all deliberate. You know, anybody who's champion who keeps the belt, your matchmaking should be deliberate, but there's a fine line between deliberate and like babysitting the title. And I feel like Nick Ball is now graduated to like not, bro. You fought what's his name? Ronnie Rios, who's a blown up 122-pounder. Then you fought who was it? Rios. About to fight Goodman, but who was it before Rios that he fought? Like he's fought 3 straight 122-pounders. BT, how good is Raymond Ford's opponent? He looks sturdy. Who the hell is Raymond Ford fighting? Raymond Ford. You guys know we love Raymond Ford. Me and Raymond Ford got history from the Komatov build-up. Funny thing is that the Komatov build-up was kind of similar to this build-up. Like, you know. Oh, Kakachi's good. Kakachi's solid. He's probably one of the best pound-for-pound fighters from the UK right now. Can box, can move. He's tall. He's lanky. Bit of an overachiever. You know, I still don't class him as high as much as some of the boxing media, but he's good. He's solid. Think for Ford that the real fight's gonna be when he fights Eduardo Sugar Nunez. You know. And Talkers isn't putting any stock in there for. He says Ford was drained coming off a war with Komatov, in which he got a gift stoppage and had to deal with the British Boxing Board of Control fight week checks. Yeah, look, that I was there when he fought Komatov. It was crazy. That fight was insane. And he even said that night that you know he couldn't make featherweight anymore. That night in the ring. So he clearly took that fight for, you know, big part of it had to be money. He got an offer he couldn't refuse, and he was willing to live with the consequences. But yeah, for me, like Nick Ball is a good fighter. I'm not saying he's not a good fighter, but out of all the champions, for me, the jury's out. The jury's still out on just how good he is. I know he's good. I know he has a tight defense. I know he has a high volume, but like, I gotta see more. I think Komatov deserves more recognition. Yeah, man. A lot of guys in the division. Like contenders and stuff, they don't want to fight Komatov. And the matchmakers from Top Rank, like, I want to see Shushu Carrington against Komatov, but Top Rank ain't going to do that because that's too risky of a fight. But you know, Komatov could beat a lot of these guys. Kakachi is going to beat up Ford. Ooh, I don't know about that one. I'm going to disagree with you on that one. I don't think about that one. Doheny. That's right, Doheny. See, it was such a cherry pick, I forgot about it. You know, I didn't even like when Inoue fought Doheny. You know, I was like, really, like that, really Inoue, like he knocked out a couple of japs, and that's all it takes. Okay, like it wasn't even like A-level, like top Japanese fighters. It was like Kazuki Nakajima. Like really, like that's what it took. Knock out Kazuki Nakajima, knock out, you know, your sparring partner. That's what it takes. For Raymond Ford is big at every weight class. He really is. Really, truthfully, he's massive at a lot of these weight classes. You know. Let me see. Zoltan Sauerbach. I saw him fight. I gotta watch more of him, but I saw him fight. He's a strong guy, strong come forward guy. He's had some management stuff going on. Brandon Lee. Brandon Lee has had management things going on, but good for him. It's like his 70 cajillionth his 70 cajillionth fight. You know, still waiting for Brandon Lee to really step up. Inoue only fought Doheny because getting pulled out of a fight to fight a Thai lady boy. Yeah, fair enough. You're right. That always gets forgotten about. But my thing is, right, because I know that Ohashi and them, they have to have replacement opponents, and I have insight on deals that were made for replacement opponents. And my thing is like, damn, Ohashi, like you guys got all these resources, and you can't get like higher level replacement opponents. Like you guys have the money, like pay up what you gotta pay up. Like, is it true that Eubank Jr. has to explain why he used a sauna to cut weight? Yes, because it's illegal to do so according to the rules of the British Boxing Board of Control. The whole sauna rule in the UK is exactly why. What's his name? Who was it? Not Paul Butler. Who was it that Paul Butler? There was a fighter. Is it Johannes Sultan, or was it Paul Butler, or was it Casemiro? I think it was Casemiro. Casemiro was supposed to fight Paul Butler for the title at bantamweight. Casemiro used a sauna. They stripped Casemiro, or they didn't let Casemiro fight because he violated the rules, and so then Paul Butler fought Johannes Sultan on short notice, if not mistaken, and that's how Paul Butler got the title to then fight Inoue. You know, so I hate that rule. It's corny. That rule is what led to us getting Paul Butler versus Inoue. Tendi Erdenabat is a fierce contender in your opinion? Yes, he's very good. Funny enough, last year, my good buddy Eric Lances Jr. I took him out to California, and we were sparring everybody. We were sparring Zepeda, and one of the guys we sparred when we were in California was actually Tenzin Erdenabat, from Mongolia, the Mongolian mole, the Mongolian monster. Strong fighter, man. Strong, good boxer. Definitely someone to look out for at 140. I like him a lot. Actually underrated. I think he's a little underrated for being objective and honest here. And once again, my computer crashed and I gotta reset again. But it's your boy BT, Brennan's Head, True School Sports, the Untouchable. We're here at 6:31 a.m. in Japan. I gotta get breakfast soon. I gotta start preparing to get ready to go to the fight. But there's still somehow 61 of you guys here that want to hear me shoot my mouth off about boxing. So I appreciate you guys. Smash the like button. Definitely subscribe if you're new to the channel. Definitely super chat. We're very excited for Jin versus Norman. And yeah. A lot of y'all want to know who I'm cheering for. Honestly, I'm not cheering for anybody. I'm a fan of both fighters. This is actually one of the rare times where I'm not cheering for nobody. I like both fighters. I like what both guys bring to the sport. And may the best man win. I've talked to I've given Brian Norman Sr. little tidbits of Japan that I know through these lives. So I've kind of helped him out directly and indirectly, but I've also helped out Jin Sasaki get sparring for the fight with Pete Dobson. So I'm in the middle. I'm in the middle. Whoever's the better fighter is gonna win. Whoever's the better guy is gonna go ahead and win. BT Jahai Tucker versus Chuck Simpson this weekend. Please give us an in-depth breakdown. I got Jahai. I think he's one of the most exciting fighters to watch right now. It's funny because I haven't even thought to. I was talking to one of my friends who's a fighter. One of these fighters who remain nameless that I advised gave me a phone call, and me and him were talking boxing, and he asked me what I thought about that fight, and I told him, like, listen, man, I've been so locked in on Jin versus Norman, I haven't had time to think about it, but it's a good fight. Truth be told, I like Truck a little more, even though I know Truck's been losing. But Jahai Tucker is explosive and he has crazy self-belief. So I'm gonna go for and this is without film study or much thought, but I would go for Lorenzo Truck Simpson majority decision. How about that? Have I seen a Japanese baseball game? No, I haven't. I was supposed to go to a Yokohama Bay Stars game because the Yokohama Stadium is like 20 minutes by foot from where I'm staying. So, however much longer I have here, I would like to go to a Yokohama Bay Stars game. I know they're playing today. They played yesterday, and they're playing tomorrow. So, we'll see if that becomes a thing. Do you think Bam has been ducking Junto, or is that an unfair narrative? I think it's an unfair narrative because anybody who claims that Bam is ducking Junto doesn't understand the dynamics of both of their careers. Bam and Junto Nakatani will never, ever, 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 ever happen. It's never going to happen because both of them are with Mr. Honda, and Mr. Honda doesn't operate like most promoters. He doesn't match his guys with each other, and guess what? They're one weight class apart. So Junto's moving up to 122 soon, 122. So guess what's going to happen soon? That means Bam, before you know it, is going to move to 118. And guess what, guys? The chess piece is already in place for Bam to move to 118 because guess who Eddie Hearn just signed? Eddie Hearn signed Antonio Vargas. Who's Bam going to fight at 118 when he gets up there? Antonio Vargas. So remember I told you guys, when it all unfolds, remember I told you. BT, do you think the under at 5.5 isn't the play for Norman versus Jet? People picking Norman to stop him early. Um, I think it's gonna go a little bit over. My prediction is Brian Norman TKO 7, but again, with how explosive both these guys are, it wouldn't shock me if either one of them got stopped before the 6th round. So really and truthfully, it's not nothing would surprise me. But I would say if I was in a bet, I would take the over. Higa is gonna splatter Vargas before that Bam fight can happen. I don't know, man. I don't know. I gotta watch more film on. I mean, I watched both of them fight. Higa's strong. Higa's a good fighter. I think he's a little overrated. Honestly, I think Antonio Vargas can beat him. I don't think Higa deserved the draw with Tsutsumi. I thought Tsutsumi beat him. And I know what's his name. Vargas had a tough fight with Winston Guerrero, but Winston Guerrero is probably one of the hardest punchers at bantamweight. Winston Guerrero could probably upset some guys. You know, he's not the most sophisticated fighter, but Winston Guerrero is really punching like that. So I'm not gonna hold that against him. But I think Vargas has gained good experience his last couple fights. Who is the best fighter that Jin Sasaki has beaten? Probably Keito Obara. Keito Obara, the former world title challenger. He fought him in 2023. He got dropped in that fight and then got up off the canvas and knocked him out in 4 rounds. So I'll probably say Keito Obara. His competition is not as high as Norman, but resumes don't win fights. BT, Dave Benavidez versus Callum Smith. Oh my God, definitely Dave Benavidez. You know, I thought Tsutsumi won as well, but Vargas has absolutely no defense. He got dropped heavily by Jonathan Rodriguez as well. Yeah, no, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. He's got his flaws. I'm not gonna write him off. I'm not gonna say I'm picking him, but I'm not writing him off just yet. I think he could beat Higa. Now, if he was fighting Tsutsumi, different story. If he was fighting even a guy like, let's say, Yoshiki Takei, who I also think might be a little overrated, I would probably think it's a different story. But Higa, he could be Higa. What should be next for Takuma Inoue? Ooh. I would like to see Takuma Inoue fight. Let me see. Let me look at the rankings. I would like to see Takuma Inoue fight. Yeah, give me Takuma Inoue, who's ranked number 4 in the WBA, versus the number 10 contender in South Florida's very own, my favorite bantamweight, Lawrence BT Newton, the other BT in South Florida. Give me Takuma Inoue versus Lawrence BT Newton. Lawrence Newton is a unknown fighter. He's been inactive, but he's still ranked. And I interviewed him a couple years ago, and he said he beat the brakes off Takuma Inoue. So make that fight. Give me that fight. You should clap really hard during the fight. We might be able to hear you. I'm going to be turned up with this fight. Who do I got? Norman or Sasaki? My official prediction on record is Norman TKO 7. Really good and a really fun fight. I think both fighters get dropped. A little birdie told me that Takuma is fighting Reyes for the vacant IBF title. Why? He might have had maybe I'm wrong. He might have had a stay busy fight, but Takuma Inoue got his ass beat by Seiya Tsutsumi. He don't deserve no damn title shot. Nah, man, I don't like that. Vargas needs to get that fight on neutral ground. The Japanese powers that be are going to want a Higa Tsutsumi trilogy. Of course. Money talks. Money talks. BT, am I crazy for thinking maybe sooner or later the Javatai is the only man that can beat Usyk because he can master small heavyweight skills? Opataya is a very good fighter. But Opataya, I think, is going to run himself the risk of getting beat by somebody soon because he's fighting such inferior competition. You need to stay sharp. You need to stay sharp, and he's not fighting guys that I think are going to help him stay sharp. No. Just say Sasaki, man, we know you're Japanese inside. No, I'm an American. I'm an American through and through, but, you know, I fuck with the Japanese. Can you bring your Team USA pom-poms to the fight so we can spot you in the crowd? Should I? Honestly, I might go to one of these vintage stores and go buy me like a Team USA basketball jersey or something. But nah, I'm gonna go ahead and wear my Angelo Leo shirt to the fight, so they can find me easy. Do you think Jin will still get big fights even if he loses? Yes, because Jin is an exciting fighter, and the welterweight division is very thin right now. So yes, and now, you know, even if he loses, he's a world title challenger. So, you know, guys are gonna want to fight a world title challenger. Now, if he's champion, of course, but they say, "LOL, do it." I am. Oh no, I 1000% am gonna wear my Angelo Leo shirt to the fight. 1000%. I got my outfit sitting in my room right now, picked out, ready to go. But guys, look, it's 6:41 a.m. I gotta be at the arena at 3. I gotta get some rest. So listen, I'm gonna end the live. I gave you guys like 3 hours, so hopefully this live was sufficient enough for you and you guys got something out of it. Thank you guys so much for all the support back in America, here in Japan, and all over the world. It's been like amazing to me and just mind-blowing. There will be content. There will be YouTube shorts. There will be a live sometime after the fight, and there will be a post-fight review video from outside the arena, because I can't film anything in the arena because these people are gonna have me under surveillance, and then they threaten to put me in jail. So I'm gonna not take no chances. But yeah, there'll be content. You guys take care. God bless. And like I say in every single one of these videos, you can love me or you can hate me, but I'm just a kid from doing it. So until next time, take your rest.